Twins dropped the opener last night. They'll try to get one back tonight in the middle game of this 3-game series on the south side of Chicago. This Twins-White Sox series is presented by Ram Trucks, built to serve. Good evening from Guaranteed Rate Field. I'm Marnie Gellner. The Twins have had a tough time getting to full strength this season. They've had a handful of injuries. They have the suspension to Jorge Polanco, but in each case, a different guy has been asked to step up. And in the case of shortstop, it's been A-Ray Adrianza, who started 50 of the last 56 games for the Twins, and last night had a little pop in his bat. A 2-hit night, including this deep home run to straightaway center field. Adrianza said he's really been working on the tee a lot, and I asked hitting coach James Rowson about the significance of Adrianza being able to hit to center with that kind of power.
A lot of times your goal is to hit the ball hard in the middle of the field as hard as you can. Gives you a little bit more room for mistake on each side, and what he's kind of showing you is that with his bat speed and as he starts to get more comfortable with the swing, he's able to drive the ball out of center field, which kind of gives you kind of an example of how strong he really is and how athletic he really is to be able to hit a ball and get out of center field. So he's been really good as of late. We hope he kind of stays in that same zone and keeps it going.
Adrianza has been filling in for Jorge Polanco, who is eligible to rejoin the Twins next week on Monday. That doesn't mean that's when the Twins will activate him. That's when he's eligible, and Polanco was elevated to AAA Rochester last night. Coming up, it's game 2 of this 3-game series against the White Sox. And Dick Bramer, Justin Morneau will have a little bit more on how the Twins can even out this series on the south side of Chicago.
Is presented by CenturyLink, connecting you to the power of the digital world. By Sanford Orthopedics and Sports Medicine, for the everyday competitor in all of us. And by Northland Ford. Visit buyfordnow.com and your local Northland Ford dealer today.
Much better weather in Chicago tonight, and the Twins hope to play a much better baseball game as they hope to even this series at a game apiece. Kyle Gibson will go for the Minnesota Twins. He's having his best season in the big leagues. And James Shields has caught a bit of a second wind in his career. He's been pitching awfully well for the White Sox. Welcome to the south side of Chicago. Dick Bremer along with Justin Morneau. And yeah, we've seen Kyle Gibson off to the best start of his major league career. One of the reasons is he's getting more strikeouts, averaging nearly a strikeout per inning pitched.
Yeah, and he's done a great job. I think what he said when I talked to him today was that when he went down to the minor leagues last year, he made a conscious effort of a few things. One of them was to throw his fastball in the strike zone a lot more. The other thing was to try and get on top of the ball a little bit more, and he's felt like he's got a little more downward movement on that breaking ball instead of side to side. So his keys were to throw the ball in the strike zone, throw his fastball, and then he was getting chases on the breaking ball. He'd be 2-1, 3-1 too much, and he wasn't getting those hitters to chase. Now he's 1-2, and he's getting those swings and misses, and he's done a great job of making that adjustment and should help him moving forward for the rest of his career.
Lately, the Twins have done a really good job controlling the best hitter on the other guy's team. They did a great job with Mike Trout when the Angels were in town, did a good job with J.D. Martinez. The guy they can't seem to get out is the outstanding third baseman for the Chicago White Sox, Wilmer Sanchez.
Yes, and he's done a nice job. He's one of those versatile players. He's today kind of player. You can play him at second, you can play him at short, you can play him at third. He puts together good at-bats. He had a great at-bat with the bases loaded last night, fouled off some tough pitches and ends up going the other way for a hit. Turns out to be the difference maker in the ball game. He's one of those guys, when you key on Abreu, you key on some of the other hitters in the lineup, you can't forget, because this guy can put together some great at-bats. He can hit the ball hard, and he's one of those pesky hitters that you just really don't want to see come up to the plate in a big situation.
Traditionally, Kyle Gibson's pitched awfully well against the White Sox, and he hopes to do so once again tonight. Couple good series in a row, winning the series in Cleveland, winning at home against the Red Sox, but then winning just one of the next 4 ball games. They'd like to get back on the winning track here. Paul Molitor with a good career mark against the White Sox, who are in full rebuilding mode. The Menards batting order for the Twins in game 2. Joe Mauer leading off, Eduardo Escobar batting second, Eddie Rosario, Brian Dozier, Max Kepler, Robbie Grossman, Jake Cave, A-Ray Adrianza, and Bobby Wilson. Taking a look at the home furniture starting pitcher, veteran with a capital V, James Shields.
And he's a crafty pitcher. He knows what he's doing out there. He's going to take advantage of the aggressiveness of the hitters if they allow him to. You need to get him in the strike zone. You need to force him to throw the ball over the plate and try and get that changeup up in the zone. That's his go-to pitch when he wants to get outs. They need to get to him early and often he doesn't get a whole lot of run support. So if they can get that White Sox team down in the count, down in the game early, it should be a good sign with how well Kyle Gibson's pitched on the road.
Northland Ford defense for the White Sox. Charlie Tilson's got center field tonight. Lurie Garcia in left field. Abisail Garcia in right field. Yolmer Sanchez, Tim Anderson, Yoan Moncada, and Jose Abreu, the infielders. Omar Narvaez will do the catching.
We'll take a look at our Pizza Ranch for the win. The two big things for me: mental toughness. Last night was a long game, long rain delay. I think the at-bats were pretty bad in the latter part of that game. The Twins got down, they lost that lead late, really gave it a lot away. And the little things are the big things. Moving runners, making plays. You need to make the routine plays. We saw some errors that led to runs yesterday. The Twins need to sharpen it up a little bit and have a good mental approach against this Chicago White Sox team that they're expected to beat.
Here's Mauer to lead things off. He'll be followed by Escobar and Rosario. Outside, ball 1 to Mauer. No secrets here. A veteran pitcher against a veteran hitter. Joe with 60 at-bats over the years against Shields, 17 hits. And a strike called, 1-1. Shields has had to adapt, has had to, in order to survive, he's had to adjust, be a little more creative out there in terms of his arm angle. Chopped off the plate, and Narvaez fires to first. Mauer retired 1 away. Give him credit for doing that, but he did it out of necessity because the numbers were pretty horrible for a few years.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that are too stubborn to change it. They'll say, this is the way I do it. If it's not good enough, I'm going to go home. And he's got a lot of pride. He's a competitor. He was an ace of that staff in Tampa for a long time. He's going to do everything he can to try and win that ball game, and if it means he has to drop his arm slot, if he has to start throwing some different pitches, and he's done that, and it's good to see a guy make that kind of adjustment.
Here is Escobar hitting second, and strike 1 taken. Coming into this year for the White Sox, part of 2016 and 21 starts last year, ERAs of 6.77 and 5.23.
And for a guy who was once an ace, that's sometimes a tough pill to swallow. You start looking up at those numbers, and your expectations of yourself are still what they were when you were a 25-year-old, but the numbers don't line up with that, and that can be really hard to do. But he's done a nice job. He's still leader of that staff. He's still showing those younger guys how to work and how to prepare.
2 strikes to Escobar, and that gets away from Narvaez. Shields has done a lot of things better this year, and one of them is keep the ball in the ballpark better. Last year, in 117 innings, he gave up 27 home runs. This year, he's thrown 100 innings and only given up 12 long balls.
Hopefully, we get to change that number tonight.
1 and 2, and now 2 and 2. Year before that for the White Sox, just for the White Sox, 114 in the 3rd innings, 31 home runs. And a chopper again, beaten right into the ground, and Escobar's retired, 2 away. See, he was spent about 1.5 years in San Diego, signed a big free agent contract, and that didn't work out real well. And much better numbers this year, even though he has just 2 wins.
And I think he's 2nd or 3rd worst as far as run support goes in the American League. So he's had a tough time. When he has thrown well, they haven't really done any kind of job of scoring runs for him. He's pitched in the 6th inning quite a bit. He's given them a chance to win, and they're just not scoring for him.
Rosario swings and misses. Pitch about a foot outside.
In the early part of this game, it looks like he just wants to live on the outside part of the plate. He wants to, and we see, take a look at the number. There you go, third worst in baseball. So, like I said, the Twins score some runs early. They got a good chance of winning this ball game.
Knocked down by the second baseman Moncada, and he makes the play. 3 ground ball outs and a quick 1st inning for James Shields. ready to lead things off for Chicago. And here is their Menards batting order with Makata on top, Sanchez batting second, then Abreu, Daniel Palka, Avisayo, Garcia, Lurie Garcia, Tim Anderson, Narvaez, and Tilson rounded out for Rick Renteria. And the home starting pitcher numbers involving Kyle Gibson, just 2 wins for Gibson, even though he's pitched much better than his 1-loss record would indicate. Chop to first, and Mauer will flip to Gibson. 1 pitch, 1 out.
And that's how you like to start as a starting pitcher. Guy make out on 1 pitch, and now you've got the next guy in the driver's seat.
Northland Ford defense for the Twins with Kepler in center, Rosario in left, Jake Cave again in right field, Escobar, Adrianza, Dozier, and Mauer the infielders, and Gibson will throw to Bobby Wilson tonight, as it's not been a direct alternating policy behind the plate between Garver and Wilson, but it's been split pretty evenly since Jason Castro went down with his knee injury. Down and away, ball 1. Sanchez has been the guy we showed you in the open. He's really punished Twins pitching.
It's very similar to what we see from Escobar. He's taken advantage of his playing time. He puts together good at-bats. He's got some sneaky power. Doesn't look like a guy that can drive the ball, and all of a sudden you make a mistake in the zone and he punishes it.
And now 2-1. Three and 1. Gibson's been pretty good about minimizing walks, although he did walk 3 in his last start, 4 the start before that. 39 walks and now 89 innings pitched, trying to come back from 3 and 1. And a 5-pitch walk puts Sanchez aboard. And that'll bring up Abreu.
And that's got to be frustrating as a pitcher right there. You get the first guy quick out, and all of a sudden the strike zone that looked like it was there from the start sort of disappeared on him. Hopefully find something to get dialed back in. A lot of times the catcher will go to a first pitch slider or first pitch curveball. It really forces the pitcher to try and get on top of the ball, command the ball, and it allows them to slow down their delivery a little bit and get himself back in control. And it's also a good pitch for a double play ball with a hitter who can hit into some double plays.
Here's Abreu, who's been slumping in the month of June. And Gibson misses with his first offering to Abreu, who hasn't done much against Kyle in his career, just 6 hits and 28 at bats. Gibson can still get a ground ball double play. He's gotten 8 of them so far this year.
And I think because of the sinker that Gibson has, Abreu wants to get his arms extended. And the way to pitch this guy is to try and tie him up inside, pitch him inside, run that ball under his hands, and then you can get him to chase that breaking ball down and away off the plate. But it's a good matchup as far as Gibson's goes in that favor.
6 of the last 7 pitches have been out of the strike zone. 2-0 now to Abreu. Driven to right. And Cave makes an adjustment, makes the catch, out number 2. And that'll bring up Daniel Palka. Palka picked up on a waiver claim in early November from the Twins by the White Sox. Talking with Rick Renteria, the Chicago manager, before the game today, he described Palka as having a lightning quick swing. And that's where a lot of the power is generated. He typically is among the leaders in any game with exit velocity when he puts the barrel of the bat on it. 3 infielders on the right side for Palka, and a swing and a miss.
That's that quick bat. The equalizer for that is the changeup.
For a brief time last year, actually a couple of stints, Gibson and Palka were teammates with the Rochester Red Wings. It's blocked by Wilson. We see that time after time. With Gibson on the mound, there might be 8 or 10 pitches in the dirt, and if one ever does get by Bobby Wilson, you're stunned.
Yeah, it's kind of like I remember Mike Redmond as our backup in the day. You knew what you were going to get from Red behind the plate when that game started. He was going to grind it out, and he was going to keep everything in front of him and try and control that run game and keep that pitcher dialed in.
Sanchez checked at first base.
Palka was made expendable with the outfield that we have out there today. The depth with Kepler, Rosario, and so many great outfielders.
Well, and it goes beyond Buxton and Kepler and Rosario. Zach Granite had a tremendous year in Rochester last year, and the Twins wanted to try to protect him.
And there's only so many guys you can keep on that 40-man roster.
Right.
You can only have them in your system for so long, which is beneficial to the player because guy can't get buried. He actually gets a chance with another major league team.
Pitches up, and it's 2-2 to Palka. South Carolina native. Twins got him from the Diamondbacks a few years ago for Chris Herman. Gibson throughout his career has always been very good at holding runners, quick delivery to the plate. Only one stolen base attempt against Gibson this year, and it was a successful one.
There's a lot of speed in the lineup today, so he's the right guy to have on the mound. They added Tilson's in there. A lot more guys that can run.
And Palka strikes out. Gibson pitches around a 1-out walk, and we are scoreless after 1.
While Byron Buxton continues his rehab stint, we look at our scoop from the clubhouse in our Sanford Health injury reports. Buxton's in AAA Rochester, working on his swing, working on his approach at the plate. The Red Wings were rained out last night. Now Buxton is scheduled to play both games of what will be a doubleheader tomorrow. And Paul Molitor has not given a specific timeline for Buxton to rejoin the big league club. So Dick and Justin, it'll just be whenever the Twins determine that he is ready.
Yeah, thank you, Marty. And the rainout in Rochester also impacted Jorge Polanco, who was supposed to play for the Red Wings tonight, being promoted from Fort Myers, in the hopes that he'd be ready to perhaps join the big league club as soon as when we get to Milwaukee. 2-0 to Brian Dozier.
It'll be interesting to see how they handle the Buxton situation, because before he was hurt, and he was playing hurt for the short. He was on the DL. He came back. He wasn't really right. But to see if they're actually forcing him to play his way back up here.
Drive to center field. But waiting for it is Tilson, one away.
And I think what we saw with the Sano move, that, hey, it's not going to be acceptable to be just up here because you're supposed to be up here, because you're one of the prospects. You got to play your way and show that you belong up here. Sometimes it's a good wake-up call for some of those hitters. I don't know what the Buxton situation is as far as that goes, but I think they want him right, and they want him able to contribute when he is here.
There's Max Kepler with one down. Whenever Polanco comes back, and let's imagine that it is at the end of this road trip in Milwaukee sometime, it will allow the Twins to get Polanco in the lineup, and the hope is, of course, that he can be a productive hitter and fielder, and leave Escobar at third base and let Sano figure out what he needs to figure out. They'll have the luxury of having a little more time to let Sano do that, because they will have added an infielder on the left side.
Yeah, and it's interesting to see what they're doing there. Hopefully that Sano sees that and says, that's my position, I belong there, I want to play there, and he's got to earn his way back to it. He's not on a rehab assignment.
Yeah, swing on a strike, 1 and 2 to Kepler.
He's down there because he wasn't playing well enough, and there were some things he needed to adjust and he needs to work on, and hopefully he figures that out quickly, because he's got as much power as anybody in the game, and Twins really need him to be a contributor to this lineup.
2-1 to Kepler. Grossman will follow. And the count was 1 and 2, I should say. And now it's 2 and 2.
Shields has mostly been living in the outside part of the strike zone. The only thing he's thrown inside are those cutters or that slider that he's thrown the last 2 pitches to Kepler. But it'd be interesting to see the conversations going on in the dugout between the hitters, if they're saying, hey, you know, everything away. As simple as that.
And Kepler swings over the top, a strikeout, 2 down. And before Grossman's at bat, you can join the Twins season ticket holder family today. Get the best seats at the best price and be instantly enrolled in our Sweet Spot benefits and rewards program. Benefits include a 10% discount on food, beverage, and merchandise, early entry on select dates to watch Twins batting practice, and much more. Visit twinsbaseball.com/season tickets to learn more. 2 down, and now Grossman. Just missing the inside edge, ball 1.
Back to what I was saying, those conversations between the hitters, I mean, that can happen when you're in Little League, and it should happen when you're in Little League. You look at each other and you say, what did he throw you? What was the location? What's his curveball look like? Any of those things between teammates are very useful. That's a way to gain information without having TV. You know, the game's not televised when you're 12 years old.
Right.
So you get information from each other as hitters. Hey, first inning he threw everything away, so the hitters should have made each other aware of that.
2-1.
And like I said, the only thing he's really throwing inside is that cutter slider, but that's just for show. He's just trying to get you aware that he might throw something in there, but he really wants you to get you out away and get you out soft away.
It sounds to me, and remembering I was someone who had all he could do to grab the right end of the bat when he tried to hit in high school, but it sounds to me like you're recommending an opposite field approach.
Well, if you don't want to hit the ball to opposite field, then just move closer to the plate.
Grossman gets a piece to stay alive.
Off a guy like this today,
right,
who's got to live away. He's given up a ton of home runs over the last few years. He's made an adjustment. Well, it's a lot easier to hit a home run on the pull side than it is to hit an opposite field home run, and I think he's kind of feeding off that. He's saying, okay, I need to throw most of my pitches away, and if they hit an opposite field home run, then good for the hitter.
That's off the plate now, 3 and 2.
But if he doesn't have that 94, 95 mile an hour velocity that he used to have, he can't pitch inside like he used to. He's changed up the way he's pitched. So now the hitters either move up in the box and move closer to the plate and try and force him to come inside if you want him to pitch inside to you.
And Grossman takes a ball. Ball 4, a 2-out walk, and that'll bring up Jake Cave. Shields upset that he lost Grossman and now has to pitch from the stretch. And Cave comes up, yet another left-handed batter.
These are the at-bats that are interesting to me. A young left-handed hitter against a veteran right-handed pitcher, a guy who's going to feed off his aggressiveness. They'll have the reports if Cave likes to swing early or not. And if he likes to swing early, I wouldn't be surprised if Shields throws a first pitch changeup.
And another ball beaten right into the ground, juggled, and Cave is safe. Moncada had a routine play. It wasn't well hit, and the inning will continue with Cave reaching on a Moncada error.
And a good job by Jake running hard out of the box, as you expect anyone to do, but especially a guy who's been here for a couple of days again. You don't want to get sent down on that play because you jogged out of the box assuming it's going to be a routine ground ball.
Well, in advance of this series, talking to the media members who cover the White Sox, they said Moncada does that a lot, plays balls off to the side rather than getting in front of the ball. There was really no reason for him to play that out on his glove side, and he ended up juggling it. The inning continues, and now here comes Adrianza. Side ball one.
That goes back to the it goes back to the Pizza Ranch for the win. That's the little things, right? You need to make the routine plays. The balls that are right at you, you end up rushing it. There's some panic there, and all of a sudden it extends the inning. Your pitcher has to throw more pitches, and Adrianza, who's been one of the hottest hitters, gets to come up with runners in scoring position with a chance to score the first runs for the Twins.
And a ground ball toward the hole, and it'll be a base hit, and Grossman dives back just in time. Alert play by Anderson, and Grossman was able to slam on the brakes and dive back to the bag. An infield hit for Adrianza, and that'll bring up Bobby Wilson.
And Shields is frustrated right now because he should be out of this inning. Now he gives up a soft infield hit on a routine ground ball to short. A heads up play by Tim Anderson right there, recognizing there's no play at first. Grossman takes a big turn. Fortunately for the Twins, they don't run themselves out of an inning.
Well, but yet Grossman, and we've seen plenty of that, haven't we? Grossman played that pretty well, because if Anderson inexplicably decided to throw across to first base, then Grossman would have been able to trot home with a run. Here's Wilson. And outside ball one. Well, the Twins have been handed this opportunity here. After the second out, Grossman worked out a walk. Cave reached on an error. There's an infield hit against the shift, and now Wilson with a 1-0 count. Two and oh.
And now this is the situation. You're Bobby Wilson. You're one pitch, one spot, almost like it's a 3-0 count. You don't want to give anything up right here. You're only looking for whatever pitch you think you hit well, if it's on the outside part of the plate, inside part of the plate, but it's got to be right there, and you try and put your best swing on it, make something happen.
And he did, but he pulled it. Couldn't wait long enough and lined it up against the tarp. 2-1.
And you like to see that. That's what I like to see. I'd rather see that 2-0 swing than pop something up to first base or whatever it is. That's an aggressive swing in a hitter's count, trying to do damage, and he got something he liked. He just didn't keep it fair.
Wilson with 9 hits for the Twins and 8 runs batted in. A chance to do some damage here in the second inning. Strike called, a big call, and it evens the count at 2-2. Close pitch. Shields got the call.
It looked like it was just right on the corner. Hitter's count, you don't want to swing at that pitch anyway. That's a ground ball to short if he does swing at it. Gives himself a chance to hit this pitch. It's probably something a little further away.
And a bouncer to third, and it'll be an easy force at third by Sanchez. The Twins fill him up and leave him full. No score after an inning and a half. broadcasting career. The White Sox won the American League West in 1983. They called it winning ugly, and it might have been because of the uniforms. Ended up facing the Orioles in the playoffs that year, and the Orioles went to and won the World Series. Greg Luzinski, Ron Kittle. Here's Gibson facing Avisail Garcia, and there's a first pitch strike.
I believe Cal Ripken was on that Orioles team.
On the Orioles team, yeah, he was the Rookie of the Year in '82.
Yep. And
Cal would tell you, as he has said in many occasions, you know, he got to the World Series and won it in his second year, and he thought, well, this is not easy, but this is going to happen.
Yeah, continue
routinely, right? And it never did, of course, for Ripken. 2 strikes to Garcia. He'll be followed by another Garcia, Lurie, and then Tim Anderson.
Going through it, they're happy to see him back on the field. Give him about a month leading up to that trade deadline. He is a free agent after this year, so.
Pitches up 1-2.
And sometimes these teams trade for these guys just to get them in their organization, see how they work, see how they are as teammates, see how they approach the game, and you get a lot better information looking at a guy every day instead of 3 series, 3 times a year. You're going to make an investment in a free agent.
Half swing. Did he go? Nope. And it's 2-2.
The more information you can gain on anybody you have, but the best way to do it is lay your own eyes on it. I thought he swung right there. I was one of those hitters that, I argued I never liked any call going against me, but I felt like almost every time I checked swung, I actually swung. So it's hard to hold up once you start. Once you get going, you commit to swinging.
And that one time he went, and it is a strikeout, second strikeout for Gibson already on the evening. And that'll bring up Lurie Garcia.
That swing and miss on the breaking ball, that slider right there. He was ahead in the count, so he's able to get the chase on it. The hitters are worried about that 2-seam fastball coming back on that outside part of the plate. And Gibson said he likes to, if you can visualize an X on the corner, so the ball's moving one direction, it's moving the other direction, and he tries to do that on both corners of the plate and not allow the hitter to lock in on one speed or location.
A bullet to Dozier, a quick second out. 2 down, and that'll bring up Tim Anderson. Got another great day of World Cup action tomorrow. Fox and FS1 highlighted by Harry Kane in England taking on Belgium at noon Central on Fox. We're streaming live on the Fox Sports app. I watched a little bit of the soccer today, and stunningly, Germany lost. They're out. They were the defending champs, and they are out. So there will be no repeat.
When was the last time there was a repeat in that thing? Not that either one of us are soccer experts.
No, I was proud of the fact that I actually watched some of it this morning, and now you're asking me about World Cup history.
It's not hockey, it's not baseball, so I couldn't tell you anything. I know Canada's men's soccer team isn't in it, so my interest isn't very high in that.
1 strike to Anderson. Well, I'll tell you one guy who's disappointed, of course, and that's Max Kepler. He is a big soccer fan, was a good soccer player, and of course, being born in Berlin, very much disappointed that the German team is out. 1-1 to Anderson. Sharply hit through the hole. It's the first Chicago hit, and it comes with 2 outs in the second inning.
And that's the approach I think that you like to see from today's hitter there. That's how you force teams to not shift on you. You stay on the ball like that, you take your base hits the other way, and you force them to try and pitch you inside, and then it's easier, like I said earlier, you turn on the ball. It's a lot easier to hit a home runs on the pull side. But he looks like he's committed. He sees the ball in the outer part of the plate, throws his hands out there, and just goes with it. He doesn't try and do too much. You get too big, or you're thinking you're going to go up there and pull, that's a ground ball to short, you're out of the inning.
You just follow the head. His head stayed down, and his shoulders stayed down, and he followed through and got a base hit. And now here's Narvaez. Strike 1. Anderson a threat to steal, but again, Gibson's been pretty stingy with that. That's a foul ball wide of the bag, 0-2.
And there's times that you have for stealing. And the reason Gibson's been so good is anything under about a 1-2 is really hard to run on. So 1.2 seconds. So it's from the time the pitcher moves, whatever his first movement is. If he moves his elbows, he moves his back foot. That clock starts, and by the time it either makes contact or gets to the catcher's glove, it's about 1.2 seconds. So Gibson's usually below that number. So anyone in the 1.3 to 1.5 range are the guys that you can run on. So you have to find a way, and then the other part of it is you run on the catcher. So the catcher, his time throwing the ball to second base is about between 1.8 and 2 seconds. So you add that up somewhere around 3 seconds. So there's a whole number that allows you to go into a game knowing the guys you can run on and knowing the guys you can't. That doesn't mean you don't.
And they have him picked off. Puts the tag on Anderson's back. That is the end of the inning, and the White Sox end up sending just 3 men to the plate. And Anderson realized it was probably going to be a long shot, so looked like he left on first movement, and the movement was toward first base.
Yeah, and sometimes as a hitter or as a base runner, Corey Koski taught me this. If you're sitting over in the dugout, you pay attention when the guys got runners on, and you just count. You see when he comes set, and you count in your head. You go 1 1,000, 2 1,000, and some pitchers will fall into a pattern, and they'll continue to do that, continue to do that, continue to do that. And you're over there taking your lead. You go 1 1,000, 2 1,000. You just take off, and you get a good jump. And you're talking about Corey Koski, who was not the fastest base runner, but a very smart baseball player. He stole 71 bases in his career, and he stole 27 in one year. So he stole 71 bases. And to think that's a lot of stolen bases for a guy, a third baseman who had power.
Mauer hits another ground ball. And Abreu makes the play, 1 away.
So when we talk about paying attention on the bench, it's not just watching what pitching the guy's throwing. You can learn all these little things if you watch the game intently. So you sit there, and if you're sitting at home, you watch next time there's a base runner, whether it's Gibson or Shields. Shields does a great job of holding runners. It varies his time. But young pitchers do it quite a bit. Well, they'll get out there, and they're so focused on the hitter. They didn't get the pickoff sign, so they come set. They take a deep breath. Some guys, their shoulders are shrugged or whatever it is, and you pick up those things, and you can steal bases even though you're not the fastest base runner.
First pitch, a strike to Escobar with 1 gone in the third. Escobar hit a ground ball to Abreu his first time up. And another fly ball to short center. And streaking in is Tilson to make the catch. 2 away. A couple of fly ball outs and a strikeout, but everything else has been beaten right into the ground, including Adrianza's infield hit in the second. Each team with just 1 hit. 2 down, and that'll bring up Rosario.
I don't think James Shields really wants to give anything to hit. With how hot he's been, he knows he's the main guy in his lineup that can hurt him at this current point in the season with how well he's been swinging. So I'd be surprised if he throws him anything in the strike zone.
On the outside corner.
And feed into the aggressiveness of that hitter. We saw it his last at bat. He swung at the first pitch, looked like it was a good 6 inches off the plate. James Shields does a good job of reading hitters, trying to recognize that, and then expanding and going a little further out, a little further out.
And now 2 strikes. Dozier, the on-deck hitter, has hit 4 home runs against Shields in 43 at-bats. And Rosario trying to get Dozier to the plate here in the 3rd inning. Twins 12 wins, 11 losses in the month of June, trying to put together their first winning month. And Rosario swings through, strike 3. And Rosario just flings the bat away and is tagged out to complete the strikeout. Here in Chicago, Omar Narvaez was at the plate when Anderson was picked off. And it'll be Narvaez, Tilson, and Moncada in the Chicago 3rd. Really haven't seen the upgrade in the quality of at-bats that you were clamoring for after the disappointing at-bats late in the ballgame last night.
A veteran pitcher, like we talked about at the beginning, taking advantage of the aggressiveness of the hitters, not forcing him to give anything to hit. He's not going to give in if he doesn't have to, and he hasn't had to yet.
Narvaez with a half swing. 0-2.
Now Kyle's got him set up. These White Sox hitters for sure are aware of how he's been able to get swings and miss on his breaking ball down and in. We talked about it in the open. It's fun to watch a guy navigate through, and a guy who feels like he's got multiple weapons now to get a hitter out, and to see how he chooses to use those weapons.
Check swing, foul. Gibson's not given up more than 2 runs in any of his last 5 starts. Two strikes to Narvaez. And a half swing, quarter swing, we'll call it.
And that back foot slider to the left-hand hitter has been so effective for him this year. And you keep throwing that until the hitters, same thing on the Shield side, feeding off the Twins hitters' aggressiveness. If the White Sox hitters are going to continue to show that they want to swing at that pitch and they think they can hit it, he's just going to continue to throw it and keep getting those swings and misses like he has all year.
Up the line, it's a fair ball, and Mauer can go to the bag and make the play himself one away. Let's get tonight's showstopper from Marnie Gellner.
The showstopper is an interleague game from last night. The Cardinals hosting the Indians, and Matt Carpenter had a game, a 5-hit game to be exact. 2 of the hits were home runs. Carpenter also scored 5 runs. St. Louis beat Cleveland 11-2. Corey Kluber allowed 6 runs in just 1 2/3 innings. That was the shortest outing of Kluber's career, guys.
And we wondered about that at the time, and just reading the Cleveland newspapers and doing my daily research, there's a ball lined softly into left center field, a base hit for Charlie Tilson. Nothing physically wrong with Kluber, just Terry Francona, as he did when the Twins scored some runs against him through 5 innings. They just took him out to try to save some bullets for September and October.
I think that's something you see a lot more now than you used to. It used to be just let him wear and hope he gets through it, see if he can get to 5 innings and not wear out the bullpen. Now, with how many roster moves are made every day and bring guys up, okay, if we have to use a guy out of the bullpen for 4 innings, then we just send him down and bring somebody else up. And every team kind of has that guy. They're able to switch in and out, basically, and you see that a lot more now.
Here's Moncada, hit a ground ball to Mauer his first time up. Tilson can run too. He's a threat to steal. When we talk about holding runners on, of course, the first thing you think about is having a good pickoff move. But you brought up a good point about Gibson. He's got the slide step and all that, but he does vary his tempo out there. Held the ball for a little bit there. He may pause and do more of a quick pitch here. And the last thing you want if you're out there is to be predictable.
Yep, exactly. You can't fall into patterns as a pitcher with your location, everything else, but it's the same thing for the base runners. And when you vary your times to the plate, you hold, and sometimes if you're able to just hold the ball, the runner will show you a lot. A lot of the guys that want to run, it's hard to freeze yourself when you're trying to get a good jump.
Well, those who've stolen bases can relate, and I think all of us who played baseball imagine what it's like. You're up on your toes, you want to spring into a sprint as quickly as you can, and the pitcher holds the ball, and you naturally, there's nothing you can do about it, you just naturally kind of fall back on the heels. Check swing, no swing, and it's 2-1.
Yeah, and you see that twitch, and you see that, and it kind of gives it away. And as a first baseman, your job, if you see that guy moving, you're yelling at him, step off, step off, step off, so you don't allow him to get a good jump. Or all of a sudden, Jeff Smith will see that over in the dugout. He's watching the runner, and he'll see, okay, does he look like he's running here? Should we pick off? Should we throw over? What do we do?
And now inside, it's 3-1.
And one of the ways to counteract that with a guy who's that quick to the plate is to hit and run. You got speed on second. You got a guy at the plate, left-handed hitter, right-handed pitcher, and a 2-1 count. It looked like if there's ever going to be a hit and run anymore in the American League, this is kind of the type of pitcher that you usually do that off of, assuming the guy's going to put the ball in play. Moncada's not the biggest contact guy, but that's the situation where you do that.
And a base hit to right. Tilson rounding second. He'll gain third base, and Cave's throw comes into second base. So a couple of one-out hits, and the White Sox are putting together a threat here. First and third, one down. Ethan, our stats guy here, we'll take another look at Moncada pulling one. Pitch left up.
That's a nice job right there, getting on top of that ball.
Do you have any idea how successful you were as a base stealer?
Not very. I don't know, 60% maybe? I don't know, like 4 for 7 or something.
What do you think viewing on is? Higher than 60% or lower than 60%?
Now that I think about it, it's probably lower.
You had 5 steals, 5 successful steals out of 15 tries.
15?
Yes.
That's the hitter's fault.
They were missed hit and runs, right?
There were probably 3-2 counts with 1 out, and I ran and strike him out, throw him out, double play. So it's the hitter's job to save me. But I remember Gardy stopped letting me run. I ran one time. We were playing in Baltimore, left-handed pitcher on the mound. I took off first move. It was Adam Lowen, a guy from my area who grew up with, a fellow Canadian. I slid headfirst into second. Miguel Tejada stepped on my fingers and sliced my fingers open, and Gardy said, "That's it. No more running for you."
Fouled back, and it's 0-2. And we talked in the open about Gibson this year being much more of a strikeout pitcher, and he's found himself in a situation here where he could use one.
And Sanchez showing him that he's going to swing at that pitch. Really is able to feed off his aggressiveness. And an 0-2 count, all Sanchez wants to do is put the ball in play and make sure he gets that runner in from third. So he's got options here. I mean, he's had such good command. It seems like throwing that slider to the back foot early in this game.
One strikeout every 5 at bats. And Wilson, here comes the runner home, and he is out by plenty. A nice reaction by Gibson, who sprinted off the mound and met the ball halfway between home plate and the rubber. On the play, Moncada goes to second, but Tilson is out by plenty at home plate.
And you talked last night about how good of a fielding pitcher Kyle Gibson is. That's being aware of the situation, and a nice glove flip. Great play. Hopefully he got that tag in before Tilson got his foot in to touch the plate.
They won't. I don't think they would overturn it if they did challenge it. And the White Sox, this being the 3rd inning, probably aren't going to challenge that. That's just great reaction by Gibson.
That's good instincts. That's knowing who's on the bases, knowing who's running. You got a fast runner on third. I think the way Bobby Wilson blocked the plate didn't allow Tilson's foot to get in there, and that saved that run right there.
Runner at second, 2 down, and they count 1-2 to Sanchez, who, as we showed you earlier, has been a real Twins nemesis this year. And a strikeout ends the inning. Wilson will throw to first, and the White Sox get a pair of consecutive hits, but no damage done, and we head to the 4th, no score.
Hats off for heroes. For each post, T-Mobile will donate $1 to support veterans.
No score as we head to the 4th inning. Twins embarking on a critical road trip, more critical than it should be at the end of June, but the Twins need to start playing better baseball and get back to the 500 mark before the Indians run away and hide. Here's Brian Dozier to lead off the 4th, then Kepler and Grossman.
And it's not exactly the easiest path on the rest of this road trip.
No.
Going into the Cubs, Wrigley. The place will be rocking. Weekend series going to Milwaukee. Team that's been playing very well.
Brewers have the best record in the National League. Outside to Dozier, 1-1. Well, Shields has become much more of a crossfire pitcher. Is that a good term to describe what he does?
Yep, and that with him losing the velocity, he needed to throw in something else to make him harder to hit.
Dozier swings through, strike 2.
And his release point is basically starting behind. It's almost not quite the same, but almost like Andrew Miller for the Indians on the left-handed side. The ball looks like it's going to be coming right at your numbers, and it ends up over the plate the way he's stepping towards the third base side, the third base dugout, crossbody, and then that arm comes all the way around. He gets some good sweep on that slider. It makes it hard for right-handed hitters to feel comfortable in the batter's box.
And outside 2-2. Twins had a 2-out threat in the second inning. Shields walked Grossman. Cave reached on a Moncada error. Adrianza got an infield hit. Other than that, Shields has been perfect. 2-2. And a called third strike. Dozier strikes out. One away in the fourth.
And he's lived on the outside part of the plate. He set up in, he missed away here, but he went away, away, away with 3 different pitches. If you don't have the velocity, you better be able to locate. And early in this game, he's located the ball very well.
Breaking ball clips the corner. Kepler takes strike one. Kepler went down swinging his first time up.
Kepler not very excited about that strike call, but he's lived on the outside part of the plate. He's shown that he's able to hit that spot, and he's starting to get some of those calls. And the Twins hitters are getting frustrated, but that's not a strike, and there's nothing you can do about it. And when you're going through what Kepler's been going through for about the last month, it seems like you're 0-1 every time you walk up there.
Here's a drive to right field. Lifted back, going back to the wall is Garcia, and he's got just enough room to make the catch. Avisail Garcia with a deep fly catch. Out number 2. And that'll bring up Grossman. Well, the Twins got some hitters that are really scuffling right now. Since Joe's come back to the lineup, his batting average has dropped about 25 points. Kepler's down now to 218. Dozier's down to 219. And Grossman takes strike one.
And for what everyone thought was going to be the strength of this team coming into the year, there's really only been a couple guys that have contributed consistently. And you know Grossman's going to give you a good at-bat every time he walks up there and make him throw a lot of pitches.
0-2. But you can't expect Escobar and Rosario to carry the team for more than 2 months. That's basically what they've done.
Yeah, not if you expect yourself to be a playoff team like the expectations were coming in, and that's tough to do.
And a changeup gets Grossman. He's down on 3 pitches. And James Shields has had 3 1-2-3 innings through 4. Chevrolet, the #1 selling brand in the Twin Cities. By Grant Casino, the best stories start here. and by Wisconsin Dells, the water park capital of the world. It is Polish American night here at Guaranteed Rate Field. A little pregame ceremony on the field. And you were reminiscing while we were watching that wonderful display about one of our favorite great Polish Americans, Rick Stelmazik, who a native of the south side of Chicago. Of course, we lost him within the last 12 months. Here's Jose Abreu.
Stelly was he was one of the good ones. He was tied so much to the Twins' history, and if you were feeling too good about yourself, he'd let you know. He had a good way of humbling you in a funny way. He was we miss him all the time.
1-1 to Abreu, leading off the bottom of the 4th inning.
I like that first pitch from Gibson to Abreu. He showed him that he was going to pitch him inside, so Abreu, being a guy who's been around a little bit, is probably going up there looking for a fastball in to start the at-bat, and he's able to get that first pitch slider over for a strike.
That is up the line, and it will go foul, and Gibson picks it up before it heads back the other way.
I think the thing that's impressive about Gibson, his ability to move around the mound, is how big he is. I don't think people realize he's 6'6", closer to 6'7" than he is, but he moves around like a guy who's, you know, much smaller than what he is. And we talked about last night. I mean, you can help yourself so much if you're able to field your position. And he seems like he delivers the ball and he's ready to field. He's ready to make a play, and he understands how important it is to get those outs that are usually soft hit balls back to the mound.
1-2 to Abreu. I guess what impresses me the most about Gibson, I mean, it's one thing to field your position, but it's another to broaden your position. I mean, he's got great fielding range. It's not the comebackers, it's the reaction plays like we saw on the pitch in the dirt blocked by Wilson. He covers a lot of ground out there.
And if one of your other partners will be up here, it'll tell you because he's an athlete.
Best athlete on the team. On the ground and through the hole. Abreu hits the ball so hard, even the ground balls have a little starch on them. And that's a leadoff single here in the 4th. 4 singles for the White Sox. Let's get caught up with James Shields having the Twins so far eating out of his hand.
And even with the long inning and the error that was made behind him, he's able to keep his pitch count down. More of the same for him. Hasn't had a whole lot of run support, but Gibson's been his equal on the other side with more strikeouts. And like we talked about in the open, the swing and miss on the slider, setting him up with the fastball in the zone, working ahead. And right now, I think he'd be happier with a double play than he would be with a strikeout and going deep into this count. Get a quick out right here, a quick 2 outs.
Down and in, ball 1. Palka struck out swinging to end the 1st inning. Good time to have Gibson get his 9th ground ball double play. Instead, it's a sinking line drive in front of Cave, and Abreu checks in at second. Well, the White Sox got back-to-back 1-out hits in the 3rd. Now back-to-back hits leading off the 4th.
Both of those hits were on sliders, I believe. So whether they were actually looking for him or they were prepared, noticing that he's thrown, that was not a slider. That was first pitch slider, second pitch fastball in. He was all over that. A quick bat like we talked about. Ball comes off his bat very hard. Good swing.
And now Aviseo Garcia went down on a check swing leading off the 2nd inning. Just 3 for 18 against Gibson. The White Sox do have 5 singles in their last 7 at bats. Backhanded by Wilson, ball 1.
Where are you at on the bunts? You know, in a close game like this, moving runners up.
I
I'm not with a power guy.
Yeah.
I'm just saying in general.
Yeah,
it seems like it's disappeared.
1-0. To me, I mean, the whole notion of bunting and playing for 1 run is a fallacy, because more often than not, if the bunt is properly executed, yeah, you give away an out, but it seems like more often than not 2 or 3 runs or more score. Well, it opens up the inning.
But with the way it's been so difficult to score runs other than home runs, you would think there would be more attempt to manufacture runs and more,
right?
You know, try and get a guy to third base and get him in. You know, they'll get him over, get him in.
And now a strike 2 and 1.
And I wouldn't ask this guy to bunt, but first and second, I mean, it's a great. All of a sudden, you go second and third. You got 2 guys in scoring position. You got now you're forcing the other team. Do they intentionally walk to set up another double play? You're maybe forcing them to load the bases. You're putting pressure on the pitcher to make pitches. You can't throw the balls in the dirt. I mean, you got to worry about run scoring on pass balls. There's so many other things that go into it. It just doesn't happen very much in the American League.
2 and 2.
And that pitch right there is the pitch that when I talked to Gibson earlier, he said he feels like he has better command of that pitch now. He's able to get on top of the ball a little bit more, but he's able to run that pitch back over the outside corner, and a hitter can't really do much with it. Now he can throw that slider in the same spot that starts on the plate, and he gets those chases on that pitch. That fastball, a little two-seam right on the outside part, and now he's got him set up for fastball in or slider away.
Yeah, it's a breaking ball beaten into the ground. Foul.
As a hitter, you say, okay, he's established that outside part of the plate. Now I kind of have to lean out there because he's not making mistakes in the middle. So I'm going to cover one part of the play to the other, and then you're able to get weak contact on a fastball in like he did on that pitch.
Suddenly a big at bat with the White Sox threatening. First and second, nobody out. 2-2 to Garcia. And foul ball. Escobar tried to sell it, reaching about 4 feet into foul territory, keeping a foot on the bag.
Plenty of weak contact. When you're as tall as Gibson is and you have that down angle, it becomes very difficult to get the bottom part of the baseball. We've seen some weak ground balls, some weak hit balls, soft hit balls. And with this guy at the plate, you're going to need it to be hit decently hard to be able to turn 2, but strikeout or he needs to start getting some quick outs before that pitch count starts really climbing on him.
Another 2-2. Breaking ball, got a big strikeout for the first out of the inning.
And a nice job. He held that ball before, like we were talking about disrupting the tempo. Gibson seemed like he held that ball for an extra second or two. And sometimes as a hitter, not only a base runner, but as a hitter, that can throw you off too, because you start thinking in the back of your mind, creeps in, you're going, should I call time? Should I call time? Should I call time? And the worst thing you want to have happen is you say time or time please, whatever it is, and then he starts his delivery and your focus isn't where it should be. So when you're able to do that as a pitcher, you kind of can throw off the tempo or the timing of the hitter also.
Here's Lurie Garcia, lined out to Dozier's last time up, and Gibson delivers low, ball 1. Really good numbers with runners in scoring position. Has been this year a better right-handed hitter than left.
And another tough guy to double up in their lineup.
And now a foul ball, 1-1.
That should tell us how good his sinker is today, how good his movement is, with how many foul balls and weakly hit foul balls that wouldn't have even made it out of the infield. He has his good stuff today, and he's always had success against the White Sox. And even though it's a good hitter's park, he must feel comfortable here because he's done such a great job in his career.
One and one to Lurie Garcia. Base hit right field. Cable trying to cut it off, but he won't get there. It gets to the wall. Abreu scores. Palka's being held on a double, an RBI double for Garcia, and it's 1-0 Chicago. Second time tonight that Lurie Garcia's hit a blistering line drive against Kyle Gibson.
And nobody's happier than James Shields right now. He finally has a run of support and a lead. But nice job by Lurie Garcia. He hit that ball hard. thought he was going to be able to cut it off, but it was hit so hard it got to the wall in 3 hops. He did a nice job getting back on that ball, getting it in quickly, and not allowing that second run to score.
Garvin Alston to the mound. Only 1 out. And the White Sox have had some really good at bats here. 6 hits in the last 9 at bats, 5 singles, and Lurie Garcia's double. And now Tim Anderson, who singled, was picked off to wrap up the 2nd inning.
This is a guy earlier in his career they would ask to squeeze bunt in this situation, or a safety squeeze, or whatever it is, to try and make sure he puts the ball in play. He's a very aggressive hitter. We'll see if Kyle's able to feed off of that right here. Probably a first pitch slider, see if he's swinging early in the count, as he likes to do.
Joe Mauer playing even with the base and about 30 feet off the first base bag. And a base hit right field. Palka scores. Garcia's being held. And the White Sox are picking up base hit after base hit against Kyle Gibson.
And that was the first pitch slider that I talked about, but that was the get me over, try and get ahead, and he left it over the middle part of the plate. And Tim Anderson, again, a nice job going with the pitch, hit the ball the other way, making sure he gets that run in, and he gets rewarded with an RBI by, and a hit by having a good solid approach for the 2nd straight at bat.
And now Narvaez with the White Sox getting 4 hits this inning. And now 7 hits in their last 10 at bats.
And of all the guys they can double up in this lineup, this is probably the best candidate they have, and this is really what Kyle needs to kind of stop the bleeding, get a ground ball to second, turn it, get back in the dugout.
Last night, Twins had a 4-2 lead, and since then the White Sox have scored 8 unanswered runs. Pulled away from the Twins last night. Now have opened up a 2-0 lead tonight. These are not cheap hits. These are solid line drive hits for the White Sox. There goes the runner, and the pitch grounded toward the hole. And Adrian's is going to make the play at first. Another run comes in with the White Sox putting a play on. 1st and 3rd. They sent the runner and got a run because of it.
And the hit and run that I talked about that's so rarely used in today's game, knowing that you don't have the fastest runner at the plate, he does a nice job, and the coverage was good on that. Neither one broke, so not assuming that they might not even been throwing the ball to second base if he stole right there. Neither middle infielder moved on that play. But a nice call by Rick Renneria right there to put on that hit and run to keep yourself out of the double play. Otherwise, the inning's over right now and the run doesn't score.
And a nice job by Narvaez, too. We've seen a number of hits to the opposite field, and that was not a hit. But he put the ball in play effectively to the opposite field and got an RBI because of it. And now Anderson dancing off of second base.
And the pitcher partly depends on that. He's shown that he's going to be around the plate. He's shown that he's going to throw strikes, so you're comfortable as the manager putting that play on.
Down and in, ball 1. Tilson single got as far as 3rd base, tried to come in on a pitch in the dirt, and Gibson flipped to Wilson for a big out last inning. On the ground, Mauer waits, flips to Gibson, and that puts an end to a good inning for the White Sox. They got 4 hits and 3 runs in the bottom of the 4th. But Kyle Gibson and the Twins find themselves behind 3-0 now. Jake Cave will lead off the 5th against James Shields. We showed the White Sox and they're good at bats and how many of their hits have gone to the opposite field. Through 4 innings, there's been 1 ball put in play to the opposite field by the Twins hitters, and it wasn't well hit by any means, but A-Ray Adrianza got the lone Twins hit by pushing a ground ball to the opposite field.
And he was rewarded for that approach. And the 3 runs, there's nobody happier in this ballpark than James Shields, because I don't think he's seen a 3-run lead in a really long time.
Explains his 2-9 1-loss record. 2-0 now to Cave, and then Adrianza and Wilson. Inside now 3-0.
And I'm sure there's plenty of teams that are looking for starting pitcher, looking to add depth. Scouts sitting in the stands, watching to see how James Shields is pitching, watching to see how he's approaching these hitters, and he is a trade candidate in the last year of his deal. So.
And now a strike 3-1. Shields has walked 1 man, and it almost came back to bite him with 2 outs. He walked Grossman, and there was an error in Adrianza's hit. Ground ball hit right to the second baseman Moncada. 1 down. Good to see Jake Cave hustling down the line and running hard. 1 down.
Love it.
And let's go to Marty Gelner.
You guys were talking just a minute ago about A-Ray Adrianza. He made a change about a month ago in his bat. He used Eduardo Escobar's bat in a batting practice, liked the way it felt, used it in a game, got a couple of hits. He's stuck with it. He's been using Escobar's bat for a month, and Adrianza had swung a 33.5-inch bat. Now he's at a 34-inch bat. He has ordered his own bats, by the way. He's hoping they come this week. But I would ask Justin, as a former MVP and a guy who had a lot of success as a hitter, explain to us how much of a difference a 1/2 of an inch in a bat makes to a hitter.
I mean, it's.
There's one loop to the left, and Adrianza's gone to the opposite field twice, and he's got 2 hits.
Good approach. He gets rewarded, but that 1/2 inch right there is probably what got him that hit. He hit that ball towards the end of the bat. 33.5. He might break it, and it might be a ball to short. That ball's off the plate, but he's shown that he's going to call it. Pat Holberg's shown that he's going to call that pitch on that outside corner. Adriana, a little movement on it, but Adrianza stays with it. Good approach. But the 1/2 inch, so I started in high school. I swung a 34-inch bat, and after I signed, I came to the Dome. Corey Koski gave me some bats. They were 34.5-inch. So I started using those, and then all of a sudden somebody else sent me some bats. They were 35-inch, and the first time I used it, I hit a ball off the wall. But the reason I did it is because I couldn't make the adjustment on guys throwing me change-ups and throwing me off-speed pitches. So instead of being able to wait back longer, I just got a longer bat.
Okay, that makes perfect sense to someone like me.
It made perfect sense to someone like me too. So some guys aren't comfortable with it, but once you go up in size and bat,
Wilson takes a strike 1-1,
and then you try and go back down, it's harder. I feel like it's easier sometimes to go from 33.5 to 34-inch than it would be to go from 34-inch to 33.5. Because every time you hit a ball off the end of the bat, you're in the back of your mind, you're going,
right.
If I would have had my longer bat, it would have been more solidly hit, and it would have been a hit. And you play that game with yourself. But
check swing 2-1.
And then there's reasons, I said this before, against Wakefield, I would use Joe's bat. So I would go from my 35-inch bat to a 34-inch bat to give myself a little more bat control. But and then like Adrianza said, he picked up Escobar's bat, and sometimes your own bat runs out of hits and you use someone else's and it feels good, and then you have success with it and you do it. And I wouldn't be surprised if Adrianza's new bats come in and he still uses Escobar's bats because they've been swinging so well.
Joe still swings ash. Did you make the transition from ash to maple?
I did. I did in the minor leagues, actually. I did. I think in
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was one of the first guys that used it consistently.
2-2 to Wilson.
Shields holding the ball.
Bounce to third. Wilson's going to have to hurry. Out there. Double play. Just 3 men back again in the 5th inning. White Sox with the lead. A lot of Twins fans here for this series and the Cubs series coming up, and those folks are our Pepsi fans of the game. Big swing and a miss by Yoan Moncada. Moncada with a single, advanced to second on the wild pitch that resulted in the second out of the inning in the third. Gibson flipped from his glove to Wilson's glove to get Tilson. And right there for strike 2. And now with 2 strikes, Escobar will swing over to the right side. Most interesting news in baseball today was something off the field involving the Detroit Tigers. Chris Bosio, who was in his first year as pitching coach for the Tigers, and Ron Gardenhire, was immediately dismissed for offensive language to a fellow Tiger employee. And so Rick Anderson, no stranger to Twins fans, will move out of the bullpen and become the pitching coach for the Tigers. 1-2. Swing and a miss and a strikeout.
We know Andy very well. And Gardy and the crew. I spent most of my career with all those guys, so you know Andy's going to do a good job. You never want to see anything like that happen. And without knowing the entire story, it's hard to say too much about it.
Right. But the Tigers felt they were, had cause and were well within their rights to dismiss Bosio effective immediately. 1 down, and now Yolmer Sanchez. And we want to pass along birthday wishes to someone I don't believe you ever had the chance to meet, but in his own way he was an iconic figure in Twins history. Wayne Terwilliger, the longtime first base coach for the Twins on both the '87 and '91 World Championship team.
Twiggy, right?
Twig, yeah, Twig.
Yeah.
He is celebrating his 93rd birthday today, so we want to pass along best wishes to Twig.
I hope I see 93 one day too.
2-0. And chopped up the line. Mauer gets the second hop. Gibson again with range shown coming off the mound, getting him there well in advance of Sanchez. 2 down. Twins fans, if you can't catch the games on TV, stream them live on your mobile device with Fox Sports Go, presented by Coors Light. Download the app, take Fox Sports North and Twins baseball wherever you go. Abreu with the bases empty and 2 down in the 5th.
And this is the way you want to face this hitter right here with nobody on. One of the most consistent run producers since he's been in the league.
Well, Twins had a couple of 2-run leads in the middle innings last night, and the White Sox came back and won that game. We'll see if the Twins can do the same to the White Sox here tonight. And Abreu, to the surprise of many, and maybe it's a reflection of the lack of quality, I hate to put it that way, but Abreu is the leading vote getter at first base in the All-Star balloting for the American League.
Good for him.
It is good for him. But
yeah, it's interesting in a league that it was so hard to get in at first base for a long time.
Right.
You're backed up, and I think it's part of where the game's going now too. Also, guys they're using multiple players at first, or they're moving outfielders playing first, and you have different. But he's a guy that maybe hasn't gotten the recognition that he's needed. Right. Teams that haven't been playoff teams, or whatever it is. I mean, he's driven in 100 runs every year he's been in the big leagues. He's hit 30 or near 30 home runs every year he's been in the big leagues. I mean, he's been very consistent, and he's the best hitter on this White Sox team, so deservedly so, I think.
And he puts a barrel on it, drives it to left and gone. He's been slumping, but he just hit number 12. And it's 4-0 Chicago. So strong. And it looked like he reached across the plate and hooked a home run.
It was almost right on cue as we're talking about how good of a hitter he is. He gets out there, and not a terrible pitch by Kyle Gibson, but Abreu stays on that ball. He's a guy who likes to use the big part of the field, stays through the middle, and when you do that, you allow yourself a chance to pull sliders like that. And Summertime in Chicago, that ball's a long way.
That ball smoked foul off the bat of Palka. Palka with a single and a run scored his last time up. I don't like giving up the runs, but again, the point facing him with the bases empty because he's so dangerous and so strong, he can hit one out at any time. It's his third home run in the last 31 days. Swing and a miss, 0-2.
And Kyle, that was the opportunity for this inning, for his quick inning to get his pitch count back on track. Goes right after Abreu and leaves one over the plate. Not a terrible pitch, but a good hitter. Does a nice job of hitting a decent pitch.
0-2. And foul. It's the first time Gibson's given up more than 3 runs since May 18th against the Brewers. He gave up 5 runs to the Brewers on that day. And it's just the 3rd time this year he's given up, 4th time I should say, as many as 4 runs. A couple of them back in April. Now down and in.
Are you one of those believers in, if a guy's got a no-hitter or a perfect game going, to not say those words or not talk about it?
No. Well, what made you bring that up?
Well, because in like the 2nd inning, you said he hasn't given up more than 2 runs and whatever.
Right. Yeah, no.
So if somebody wants someone to blame,
oh, they can blame me all they want, but
not that you have anything to do with it.
As I've told people, if there was anything I could say up here that would impact the play on the field, we would not have lost 103 games 2 years ago. Because I was there for almost all of them. 1-2, and a swing and a miss. Gibson comes off the mound after the 5th, but Abreu touched him for a home run, and it's 4-0 Chicago. You just won $100 in scratch tickets for being our featured in tonight's Minnesota Lottery Winner's Circle. If you're game for a little excitement, say I'm in. Oh, happy birthday to Jody. And the Twins are hoping that they can give her a bit of a birthday present here. They haven't done much of anything against James Shields. Only Adrianza has a hit, and he has 2 of them. And they're the only baseballs that have been hit to the opposite field. Mauer is 0 for 2, 2 ground balls, and he takes a strike.
And if there's anyone we can count on hitting another ball to the opposite field, it's usually Joe Mauer. So
right.
The Twins really need to start having some better at-bats, because the last part of that game last night was pretty bad.
Check swing and a bouncer. Sanchez charges and throws Mauer out, 1 down.
And that was the opposite field, but not quite like we were talking about.
That'll bring up Escobar.
And a 3rd time through the lineup for Minnesota Twins. First time they didn't get him. Second time through, he gets better. Third time through, the average jumps back up. So this is really the time of game before they get to the bullpen, before they're able to bring in those arms and throw in the mid to high 90s. You need to get this starter at this point of the ballgame right now with the middle of the lineup coming up.
Maybe the best hitter in using the whole field is this guy, Escobar, from both sides of the plate. Sharply hit. Diving stop to his right. Moncada comes up firing. Escobar with a bid for a hit, but Moncada cut it off. 2 away.
And this is the thing that will drive people crazy about young players, because he makes that play on that rocket and he missed that routine ground ball earlier in the game, and that was a great play right there. Athleticism. You can see why they're so excited about this guy right here.
Two down quickly here in the 6th, and now Eddie Rosario. 10 ground ball outs for Shields. That one was smashed pretty hard.
And as frustrated as Shields was with that play earlier in the game that added to his pitch count, a little tip of the cap and appreciation for his defense behind him.
Well, since you brought up the old super broadcaster superstition, Mike Minor of the Rangers is perfect through 6 against the Padres.
And I believe he was pretty good against us.
Yes,
when
he
we
was.
faced him his last start.
Yes, he was. So we'll see what happens with that. 2-0 to Rosario. He's hit a ground ball to second and struck out on 3 pitches. There's a strike on the outside corner.
Shields has done a nice job of keeping the Twins hitters off balance, not leaving too many pitches over the middle of the plate.
3-1. We can, up here with our field microphones, we can hear Shields grunt. Does that impact you as a hitter at all? You hear it at all, or are you so focused on the pitch you don't completely ignore it? There's a walk to Rosario.
And he'll grunt on his changeup. Hopefully we didn't hear what he said there on the mic, but
got a 4-0 lead, 2-out walk to Rosario.
4-0 lead in the 4-letter word.
2018 Camping World MLB All-Star ballot is now open and exclusively online. Make sure Eddie Rosario gets your consideration. Eduardo Escobar gets your consideration. Vote at twinsbaseball.com/vote up to 35 times a day. Catch all the excitement of the 89th MLB All-Star Game presented by MasterCard. July 17th live on Fox. Are you an All-Star Game watcher? I know you were a participant. Dozier takes a strike.
I am now. When I didn't play, it was frustrating to not be there, so it was hard to watch.
Oh, is that right? But
I wanted to see what happened. I watched the Derby. I tuned in for a lot of the Derby because I watched that since I was a kid and I loved it. But the game, if our guys are in it, you know, if I'll see that we got a reliever and he's coming in the 7th game or 7th inning, something like that, I'll make sure that I tune in. Or if there's guys that first time all-stars for me are the ones that I like to see. I like to see the intros. I like to see the guys on the line salute their family, because you know, once you're an all-star, you're always an all-star, and that's next to your name or your accolades forever. So it's fun to see those guys, the excitement of being around the best in the league at that time.
2 strikes to Dozier. So you don't hear the grunt? Doesn't make any difference to you?
Well, he does it on his changeup too, though. So some guys would do it as a tip or as a tell. You'd use that as, oh, he only grunts on his fastball when he's trying to throw really hard. And you do hear it up there. And another guy used to do it who pitched for the White Sox and had a lot of success was Jake Peavy.
Yes.
Jake Peavy used to grunt a lot, and he used to yell at himself.
Dozier protects the plate.
He'd be out there, come on, Jake, talking to himself in the 3rd person. And we used to do it. It seemed like there used to be a lot more talk towards the pitcher coming out of the dugout. So we'd hear do that, and we would all kind of yell and grunt and try and get in his head, because he's out there playing his mind games and grunting and doing all that stuff. And we would be doing it back from the dugout. I'm not telling the kids to do that. You shouldn't do that if you're playing Little League Baseball, but.
Well, I mentioned Mike Minor's perfect game bid. Eric Hosmer just, as soon as I said it, Hosmer got a 7th inning single.
You must have jinxed it.
I think I jinxed it.
All the way from Chicago.
2-2 to Dozier. Twins need to get something to wake themselves up. And Dozier spanks a single to right to the opposite field, rounding second. Rosario goes to third. So with 2 outs, the Twins put together a threat here, and there'll be 2 men aboard for Kepler.
And a nice job by Dozier right there. Nice approach. The guy who's showing him he's going to live mostly away. He just takes what he gives him, goes with the pitch. And that'll get Dozier right where he needs to be. You hit a ball like that sometimes. You asked me last night, how do you come out of it? How do you know you're coming out of a slump or whatever it is? And I said one swing, and for him it was that one swing right there. Drive the ball the other way. Now the White Sox and tomorrow's starter who's watching the game, paying attention in the clubhouse on TV, whatever it is, says, okay, he looks like he's actually making a conscious effort to hit the ball the other way. We might have to pitch him inside tomorrow. So even if you hit singles the other way, the pitcher's looking at it going, okay, now we have to pitch him inside, and that's feeding right into Dozier's plan. So when you're a one-dimensional hitter, it doesn't force the other team to give you anything you want to hit.
Don Cooper has said his piece. And Kepler has a chance to get the Twins right back into the ballgame. Almost hit a home run with 1 out in the 4th. Got it off on the end of the bat just a little bit. Now we got a problem with Rosario, it appears. Gene Glenn is coming in talking with third base umpire Jerry Davis, and I think it involves, well, I don't know if there's been an ejection or what happened here.
I think so.
I think Gene Glenn's been ejected. This is really peculiar. Gene Glenn's about as mild-mannered a guy as you have ever wanted to meet. And the third base coach has been ejected, and I don't know whether Rosario hasn't been ejected as well. Rosario's going back to third base. There was no play involving Jerry Davis, the third base umpire, at all. Paul Molitor saying, what in the world happened? This was very peculiar. So with his Gene Glenn and Eddie Rosario saying something, and Davis had his back to the player and the coach. And this is really, really peculiar.
I'm not sure I've ever seen a base coach get tossed on no play.
And then Jerry Davis, I don't believe, has had to make so much as a check swing call in tonight's game.
That was odd. And I think Rosario was there because he wasn't sure if he got tossed. He turned around, they showed him throw him out, and he turned around and looked and went, me or him? And that was an odd play, especially with Jerry's back turned to him.
Jeff Smith's now the third base coach. Rudy Hernandez is now at first, and Kepler pounds it right in front of Rudy Hernandez. Well, that is certainly worthy of some questioning of Jerry Davis as to what it was he heard that caused the third base coach to be ejected. And Jerry Davis has been about as involved in the play on the field as I've been up here.
Maybe that's what they
trying to get, and that's a balk. The home plate umpire Pat Hoberg is calling a balk, with Shields bluffing to first and then throwing to third. And Rick Rennery is going to be tossed because you can't argue a balk. Now, we've seen teams do this. I did not see Shields.
So if he steps off, he's allowed to fake to first.
Sure he is.
That's the rule, and he's saying that he stepped off. This is a play that he's used before. He used to be one of the guys that loved to fake third to first. There's the opposite. So he comes set, steps off, fakes, throws. Hey,
that's not a balk. I don't believe.
I don't believe it is either. And the frustration will really come out here if you see this call stand up and a guy who hasn't given up a run yet.
Now they're going to send Rosario back to third. And here comes Paul Molitor. And I think we're going to have our second ejection here. They are reversing a balk call on the field.
And you're not allowed to come out. I think what Paul's mad about is you're not allowed to come out and argue a balk. And he came out and argued a balk, and he didn't get tossed. Now Paul gets tossed.
I believe Pat Hobart, the home plate umpire, called the balk. Jerry Davis is the crew chief, but Jerry Davis was also the third base umpire who just tossed the Twins' third base coach from the game. And now he's tossed Paul Molitor.
I've never seen a balk call reversed, I can tell you that much. This has been.
Well, there was no balk in the first place, but as I understand the rule, the man stepped off the rubber and he can do whatever he wants.
Nobody called a balk.
But the home plate umpire called a balk.
But there should never be.
Well, the Twins.
That should never happen in the big.
Watch the right foot, it comes off the rubber. But the home, and he didn't even do it immediately. He did it after the fact. Now watch the home plate umpire now calling a balk. Now you can't do it in reverse. They took that play away a couple years ago. You can't fake to third and throw to first. Now the pitch in the dirt. And frankly, the Twins coaching ranks and managing ranks are running a little thin right now. We got Rudy Hernandez at first base. Derek Shelton will be the acting manager.
And we got Jeff Smith at third base, who spent plenty of time managing in the minor leagues. And when you manage in the minor leagues, you coach third base, so he's got lots of experience out there.
1-1 to Kepler. Pitch down and in, and Kepler's had a tough time with that pitch. He struck out on that pitch in the second inning.
I don't know, maybe with how out of it the Twins have seen since that rain delay last night, since late in the game, and then these at-bats in this game, it might actually be something they need to wake up here.
And you start to wonder whether maybe the ejection of Gene Glynn wasn't connected to what happened later. Maybe Gene Glynn was imploring for Jerry Davis to call a balk, because Jerry Davis hasn't been involved in anything. One and two to the batter. First and third for the Twins, who are down 4-0. And on the outside corner, somehow through it all, the White Sox survive the Twins' threat at the top of the sixth.
Save big money on all your home improvement needs at Menards.
Well, really an odd top of the 6th inning, and as we go through the bottom of the 6th, we'll continue to discuss what we saw, because frankly we're not sure what we saw. In my mind, when the balk was called, and there's Derek Shelton, he'll be the acting manager. When the balk was called, rightly or wrongly, the moment Rick Renteria stepped out of the dugout, he should have been tossed, and yet by inning's end it was the Twins manager who was ejected. I don't get that at all.
I don't either. It was interesting to see. The one thing Rick Renteria did is he made sure that he didn't cross the foul line. You could see him, he was towing the line when he was standing out there. So maybe there's some technicality in the rule that says you're not allowed to come on the field to argue it. But I thought it was as soon as you left that top step of the dugout, you were automatically ejected for questioning the balk.
You can no more do that than you can legally argue balls and strikes. Now you can do it from the dugout to some degree, unless it gets excessive. But here Renteria was up to the foul line.
Yeah.
And then, of course, what preceded it all is still baffling to me. An umpire who really wasn't involved in anything in the first 5.5 innings anyway, with his back to a runner and a coach, ejected the third base coach. And you know, Gene Glenn, as I said, he's about as meek a spirit in baseball as there is.
And who knows, it could have been carryover from yesterday, from when he was at the plate. It could have been carryover from something earlier in the game and they were finally close enough and had a conversation. I don't know. But
and a bouncer foul. Gibson out there hoping to persevere and fight his way through the 6th inning. There'll be some questions asked, and we hope answers given in the post-game show. Stay tuned for that. One and two, and a pitch high, 2-2. The Twins haven't played good baseball. That's the bottom line here, and they're in danger of losing their 4th game out of their last 5. But it's been some weird goings on involving batters getting hit, coaches getting thrown out, balks called and then uncalled. Adrianza fires, and Avisail Garcia retired 1 away. See the Twins take on the Orioles Saturday, July 7th, and the first 20,000 fans get a Twins flash cap that changes color when the light hits it. Go to twinsbaseball.com/tickets to learn more. Now there it's changing shape, but it changes color depending on the lighting in the room. Kind of a chameleon cap.
like a construction worker's jacket.
Line drive center. Base hit for Lurie Garcia. He's put the ball in play hard 3 times tonight against Gibson.
Maybe by the time we actually give that hat away, we'll get the answer of.
I suspect that there's going to be answers attempted anyway before we get back home for that promotion. If not a full moon, pretty close to it. Maybe that explains some of this. Tim Anderson with 2 hits.
That's honestly, and I'm not saying this as an insult to Pat Hobart behind the plate, but that's not something you really ever see happen in the major leagues.
Well,
have a balk called and then have it changed. I mean, once you call a balk, it's a balk. I mean,
even if, and you hope this isn't the case, even if the home plate umpire didn't understand the rules, you know, again, they've taken the fake to third, throw to first play away. You do that now and you get called for a balk, but this was the mirror image of that, and he seemed to clearly take his foot behind the rubber before he did anything.
Yeah.
And then the balk was called after the throw to third base, which is, I mean, if the fake to first wasn't a balk, then the throw to third wasn't a balk. Tap foul.
And I think sometimes when something weird or unexpected happens, your immediate reaction is just to go, oh, that didn't look right.
It looked like
it
a
must
balk.
be, it must be a balk because I haven't seen that in,
right.
You know, maybe it was just one of those, you know, just happens.
You know, and it's a sticking point, I guess, for me. If the umpires themselves had convened to discuss it without Renteria's involvement, well, that's quite another thing. If Jerry Davis had said, hey, let's make sure you saw what you think you saw. Well, that I have no problem with that. But the fact that the Chicago manager came out and went all the way to the foul line, that you can't do that.
Yeah, he should have been ejected even if there's no argument, anything. Even if you eject him just because that's the rule is, and then the umpires still get together and change the call, that's different. But you can't do that.
Well, 1-2 here in the bottom of the 6th inning. Gibson's next pitch will be his 90th. Left side, out there, and Anderson beats it out, 2 down. Anderson runs too well for a double play grounder there, at least 2 away, and that'll bring up Narvaez. Narvaez drove in a run with a ground ball in the 3-run 4th inning.
See, even though he got picked off earlier in this game, you see Tim Anderson creeping, trying to time it, trying to find a way to steal a base. Even though Kyle Gibson's so quick to home, he's moving. He's keeping his feet moving. See him, he's getting a walk in.
And a ground ball under the glove of Escobar. Anderson to second. He'll go to third, and Gibson was waiting for a throw that never came. Gibson did his part. He filled the void at third base, but Rosario did not pull the trigger on the throw. First and third, 2 down.
That was some great heads-up base running by Tim Anderson right there, recognizing that Escobar was playing off the line. He dives to his left. He's not going to be able to make it back to third base in time. You see him, if he gets up immediately, Rosario's still looking at his back as he's running to third base. So Anderson, great instincts on that play. Decides he's going to take off going. You see the shortstop and the third baseman standing in the middle of the field. Gibson did the right thing. He got to the base, as is the pitcher's responsibility with it being vacated, but Rosario didn't feel comfortable throwing the ball to the pitcher on a real close play. He keeps Narvaez at first base. Keep the force play at second.
Here's Tilson, and there's strike 1. Well, in Rosario's defense, it was kind of a moving target. Gibson was running to the bag as he was looking. And
and the other thing that happens if he throws it to third, then Narvaez can continue to second, and then you have runners at second and third, 2 guys in scoring position. So sometimes the best thing to do is not actually make a throw.
We've seen Eddie make throws that probably weren't well advised. Here he chose to hold on to it, and it might have been the right thing to do.
And that's the sign of a maturing player, I guess, being able to recognize those situations. You can't throw everybody out, and sometimes stuff happens that's out of your control, and you just get him in and keep the guy at first base.
White Sox have 10 hits against Kyle Gibson. That's a little flare into right center, and that'll drop for a hit, and a run will score. And the bottom of the order doing some damage here in the 6th.
And the play of Rosario not throwing that ball into third and allowing Narvaez to continue to second actually saves another run right there. Now it's first and third again, as opposed to 2 runs coming in on an ill-advised throw.
Season high in hits allowed by Gibson, 8 in that mid-May start against Milwaukee. Garvin Alston will come to the mound. Here are the White Sox with 11 hits already. Now, given the state of affairs, I don't believe Garvin Alston will make a pitching change here, but Derek Shelton is the acting manager, and the fact the Twins don't even have anybody warming up right now, that activity is just starting. Well, 1 more for the White Sox. It's Ryan Presley, the first arm getting loose.
Well, the White Sox have been rewarded for having a good approach. They've used the middle of the field, they've used the big part of the field, and they've allowed themselves to get jammed, to miss hits and balls, but they've been, like I said, rewarded by having a solid approach.
Now back to the top of the order, and Moncada's 4th at bat against Gibson. Gibson sharp through 3 innings, but then 3 runs in the 4th, 1 in the 5th, 1 here in the 6th. And Wilson with a block, ball 1. Gibson's career high in hits allowed is 12 last year against Seattle. Fouled away. 1-1. Ooh. Wilson get hit by the follow through, and now Derek Shelton will come out to check on the catcher. That happens a lot. And it looked like on the follow through, Moncada's bat clubbed Wilson right on the helmet.
I remember when that happened. Jim Thome took a swing and got Mike Redmond on the top. It was a doubleheader. Joe caught the first game, and I think it was the first or the second inning. And somehow Thome's bat got up underneath. Ooh, that was solid. Ugh. Somehow the bat got up underneath Redmond's helmet and split Redmond's head right open on the top. How that ever happened, nobody knows. And Redmond's helmet stayed on.
Missing inside.
That was a good pitch for
you can see Gibson's frustration here too, shaking his head side to side.
And very rarely do you see a catcher turn around, but he turned around, and I think he had something to say there. With how many pitches James Shields got, and that caught the corner of the box, and how many pitches James Shields got in this game, for them not to call that is frustrating.
Oh, back. 2-2. Pitch number 100 coming up. I don't know, it's 5-0, but I don't know that Gibson's pitched that poorly here. He made some good pitches, and the White Sox have had a good approach, taking him to the opposite field for some key base hits.
Yeah, the only one that's really been driven, some balls have been hit hard, but the one that's been driven was the ball that Abreu hit over the bullpen.
Missing inside 3-2. Wilson will come out in front of the plate.
Maurer will move. Well, they're going to have him hold him on. Surprising with a left-handed hitter. A lot of times he'll go behind, but they're trying to keep Tilson close to first base, not allow him to get as big of a lead or jump off of first base to try and keep him from scoring on a ball to the outfield wall. He's still going to be in motion, but if you're playing behind him, he gets a bigger lead.
Might be the last man Gibson faces. It's tapped foul into the netting above the Twins dugout.
And the reason you would normally move Maurer behind him is with a left-handed hitter, there's a ton of room on the right side of the infield. You can cover way less ground when you're 15, 20 feet closer to the plate. So Joe's holding them on, and that's specifically to keep the runner closer to first, assuming that Moncada's not going to hit a ball hard down the first base line.
Another 3-2. And looks like he threw him a changeup and struck him out. The White Sox had another run in the 6th, and now they lead at 5-0.
Nice job keeping Twins hitters off balance. Larry Garcia, one of the hardest hit balls of the day. Jose Abreu reaching out, staying back on a slider. Strong hitter, consistent hitter, takes advantage. Nice job by him. Not a bad pitch, drives the ball. All of a sudden, game appears to be a little bit out of reach, but things can happen in a hurry. You get a couple of base hits. We always just say bloop and a blast, or a walk and a bloop and a blast, and you're right back in it. So this game's not done yet. Shields is throwing the ball well, but anything can happen at this point.
And Shields has had another good start here regardless. And if you are a contending team in either league, you might look at what Shields has been doing and say, you know what? Not at the front of our rotation, but on the back end of the rotation, you bet. Grossman takes up and away, and it's 2-0.
And the scouts that are sitting behind home plate with their radar guns and making their notes, and
they shut them off in the second inning.
Sending their reports. Yeah, that's the thing. We saw 95 to 99 miles an hour last night, and we see
well located 90.
Yep, 88 to 91.
Yep. Right
where he wants to put it, from a different arm slot. And both guys have been successful. Both guys threw the ball well. The Twins really need to get something going right here.
Some scouts watching the game, taking notes.
No radar guns.
And Grossman hooks a foul. Now, James Shields has been around a long time, and I know him enough to say hi and nod in his direction. But you played with the guy. What kind of guy is he?
Awesome. Leader. Has fun. You know, you never know what to expect. Like I said yesterday, you never know. And when you're teammates with somebody.
Grossman drives it down the line, but it has some hook on it as well.
Sometimes you're disappointed. Sometimes you're not. That's one of those times you're not. You know. He had an impact on so many different good pitchers' career. David Price, Archer, Tampa. A lot of those guys credit him with.
Weak ground ball right side, and again Moncada plays it to the side. This time he gets it in the glove, one away. I don't know why he does that. Cost him an error, and made the same play, but actually made it this time, one away.
And Jake Cave showed me something that I haven't seen in the big leagues for a while, and I love it. He hit this routine ground ball to second base, and he ran as fast as he could down that line. And I always say good hustle is not running hard when you're trying to get a hit. Good hustle is running hard when you know you're going to get out. It's easy to run hard when there's a slow hit ball to the infield and you're trying to beat it out. And I think the other thing it does, it forces the defense to be aware. Every time you're up there, they know that it's not going to be 7 seconds running to first base. You're going to give your best effort. They better get that ball out of their glove quickly and make a play.
Oh, last night we saw Adrianza field the ball and look up, and the runner was 4/5 of the way to first base. Had to goose his throw, and it sailed on him a little bit. He ended up getting charged with an error.
Well, I think the other thing that happens a lot, guys are afraid of getting hurt at, 600 at-bats, whatever it is. I don't know. I feel like guys get hurt more when they run hard once every 3 days than if they run hard every time. Because if you jog down the line every single time and all of a sudden you need to turn it up to that next level or that, that extra gear, and you haven't done it, I think that you got a better chance of getting hurt doing that than you do just running hard every time. And I'm not saying you need to be 1,000% on a 2-hop ground ball while you're out by 25 feet, but give me 90 or 95%. Give me something that forces the defense and puts some pressure on the defense.
Well, we got spoiled here with Kirby Puckett, who was the marquee player on a couple of World Championship ball clubs, and every time 2-hopper to second, shorter third, and he ran as if his hair was on fire.
And when your superstar does it, it's a lot easier for everyone else to fall in line.
That caught Narvaez in the mask and peeled it off. 1-2 to Cave, battling Shields with one away here in the 7th.
James Shields recognizing that Jake Cave's a lot out front. He wants to go to his bread and butter, his changeup right here, and speed him up to slow him down.
Missing inside 2-2. And Cave called up at the expense of Ryan Lamar because the Twins are facing a steady diet of right-handed starting pitching. 2-2. Hit into the shift, and it nearly hit the base. Anderson throws out Cave, 2 away. Looks like it landed right near the corner of the second base bag. 2 down. Friday, July 6th, it's University of North Dakota night at Target Field. A limited number of UND theme night ticket packages are available that include a game ticket and green and black Twins cap. Learn more at twinsbaseball.com/UND or call 800-33-TWINS. That hat doesn't change color at all. It's just green and black. Here's Adrianza, 2 hits to the opposite field. And a swing and a miss. Adrianza with an infield hit, pushed to the left side of the infield, and then a line drive to left center field. So the Twins, who have just 3 hits, have 2 of them from their shortstop. Narvaez, I think, went out to check on something with Shields, and Shields said, "No, I'm fine." He might have lost his footing a little bit.
As that game goes on, that hole or in the mound starts to get deeper and deeper, and if you don't land perfectly where you've been landing the entire game, that foot can hit and it can be a really uncomfortable landing for that pitcher.
A ball hit to right center field toward the gap. Adrianza's got his 3rd hit. This one will be for extra bases. It's a 2-out double in the 7th. So 2 hits the other way, and then he hooks one into the gap in right center.
That's that 34-inch bat right there coming through again. Escobar, must be Escobar's bat because it had a double in it.
That's right.
Backdoor slider. That was a great job by Adrianza right there, going down to get that ball. That was a good pitch by James Shields.
So Adrianza at second with 2 down. Bobby Wilson will bat. There's a meeting on the mound. With Paul Molitor ejected, Derek Shelton is the acting manager. And Paul told me the other day Derek's already wound a little tight because in a few weeks, when Jack Morris is being inducted into the Hall of Fame and Alan Trammell, Jim Thome, and others, Paul Molitor is going to miss a couple of games, and Derek Shelton will be managing the ball club. So Shelton is already tossing and turning at night. It's a bit of an exaggeration, but he's already concerned about managing the ball club in Fenway Park of all places. You know, I mean, it's not like you're in, well, I'm not going to name another town because I don't want to insult the town, but he's going to be managing games at Fenway Park.
And he's a baseball man. He's been around a long time.
Yeah.
He's been in the big leagues, and he's had various roles over the last few years. And I think he's pretty capable. I think he's the one that helps while he's set up for the pitching changes, Paul Molitor, and helps him, gives him that extra data that the manager needs to help make decisions as the game goes on. So he's aware of everyone else on the other team as much as anybody in that dugout.
Pulled on the ground to third, picked up by Sanchez, and that ends the threat. A 2-out double for Adrianza. He's left aboard. 13 ground ball line outs through 7 innings for James Shields.
express written consent of Minnesota Twins, LLC.
Well, Gibson's going to go out there and try to pitch 7 innings himself. Shields is done after 7. Gibson has given up 5 runs and 11 hits.
James Shields got 3 starts worth of run support.
Yes, he did for him. You're absolutely right. So to the bottom of the 7th, and Gibson with 100 pitches thrown, 64 strikes, will face Sanchez to start the 7th inning. And rather than wait to 2 strikes, the Twins will swing Escobar to the right side of the infield at the start of the at-bat.
This is one of those. This is one of those situations where I don't have any problem with Sanchez bunting right here.
Really?
Why not?
That's all this game needs.
You want to get this rivalry going again?
Jeez.
Well, I don't.
He's up 5-0 in the 7th inning.
It's only 5. It's a 7th inning. He's leading off the inning. He's a guy who can run. He'll bunt in other situations.
And the Twins are defending a full swing, and instead he chops it foul. They're trying to take a hit away from him by shifting the infield. And so I see your point.
He made a conscious effort right there. He was trying to do that. Yeah, I mean, he can hit a ball 110 miles an hour on our exit velocity and all the rest of it, but can it go one of those 3 guys on the right side, or he can bunt at 10 miles an hour and walk to first base.
Fly ball center field, and Kepler over to the gap. With the catch, 1 away. And that'll bring up a break.
But if your job leading off the inning is to get on base, it doesn't matter. I mean, 10-0, I might have a problem with it, but I don't know. Maybe my opinion would be different if I was sitting in that dugout, but I don't think 5 in this ballpark is out of reach.
Yeah. Jose Abreu with a home run his last time up. 2 hits tonight. The Indians behind Shane Bieber leading the Cardinals 5-1 late in that ball game in St. Louis. Shane Bieber giving the Indians a big lift.
And it's funny when you're on good teams how you make those guys in the minor leagues force their way up to the big leagues, and when they get there they seem to appear ready. You know, they've had very good baseball teams over the last few years. They've had good starting pitching. They've had depth. And now when you tap into those guys, you're not calling 3 guys up from your AAA team or even from AA. You're calling 1 guy up who's the best down there and has forced his way into the big leagues.
Same thing happened a couple years ago with Mike Clevenger, who's now a pretty reliable guy in their rotation.
I remember I faced him and I went, how is this guy? He was the long guy, I think. And he comes in, I'm going, your long guy's throwing 95, and then he started against us a few starts later.
Off of Gibson, I think it got his glove. Nice play by Adrianza. Didn't hit the body. Looked like it got the mitt. It'll be scored 163.
That helps Gibson's fielding percentage. Working on that gold glove for him.
How did that not hit the leg? Look at Abreu with the bat flip almost all the way out to the mound. Watch the bat flip. No, we don't see it on that replay. Two down here in the 7th. Gibson's season high in pitches thrown 118 against the Angels earlier this month.
I like the at-bats that Chicago's put together in this game. They started off, Gibson kind of revealed his game plan early and showed that he was going to get ahead with that fastball, start back footing that slider, but they stayed with their approach. They stayed in the big part of the field. They took the singles and hit the mistakes for homers, but they took their base hits up the middle and the other way. And they've been rewarded for it with a lot of hits.
1-1 to Palka. Single and a run scored. Sandwiched by a couple of strikeouts. Dozier with a great snag on a wicked one-hopper. And Palka's retired. And it's a 1-2-3-7 for Gibson. Watching the Astros with a walk-off win last night.
And there hasn't really been a whole lot of letdown. They made some additions to that ball club, getting Garrett Cole.
And a full year of Verlander, my goodness.
Yeah, and Charlie Morton pitching like an ace. I mean, he's been a great story. That's a tough team to match up with in October.
Xavier Cedeno's done a nice job in limited duty for the White Sox, and he'll pitch to Mauer, Escobar, and Rosario. Joe with 3 groundouts. One of them a check swing groundout his last time up.
And as James Shields was crossbody from the right side, Cedeno's that from the left side.
Off the plate, ball 1. 100 pitches for Shields. He got 13 ground ball outs. Twins have done very little here tonight with just 4 hits, 3 singles and a double. Hours average down to 257. He was activated from the disabled list. It was 283. Joe will tell you that he just kind of needs to get back into baseball shape. It was a case where when he was on the disabled list, his activity was very limited and gradually started building up and building up and building up. Then he jumped back in the lineup. But leg strength, stamina, and all that. It'd be nice if you could just snap your fingers and get back into the game and hit and act like you never left it, but that's kind of unrealistic even for somebody as good as Joe.
And I think we assume that because his swing is so consistent and because he knows his swing and he knows his approach at the plate, that it's just going to be there all the time as soon as he comes back.
That got Joe right above the hands. Very, very rarely do you see Joe make contact with the ball inside the trademark. Look where this ball hit him, or hit the bat.
That's the I've got the slider in the back of my mind. Oops, that's a fastball kind of swing, because if he's going to hit a slider over the plate, that's where it's got to start off this guy.
Right.
Just a little late recognition on it.
Ooh, and then they fouled it off the plate and it came up and hit him in the head. That's got to be a full moon up there, right? I mean, that's. Thankfully, he's okay. Got him, I think, in the bill of the helmet, maybe in the forearm.
So let me get this right. You saying Gibson hasn't given up more than 2 runs.
Right.
Didn't jinx him. You didn't jinx the perfect game, but
no.
the full moon is the reason everything's going crazy here today.
I'm off my game because my phone melted right before the game. Okay. One and 2.
Just checking.
Mauer battling here, trying to get something started. White Sox counting the last few innings last night, and the game here so far tonight have outscored the Twins 11-0. No, got him in on the handle of the bat again, 1 away.
For a guy who's not lighting up the radar gun, he must have some kind of deception or something. That crossbody delivery must be tough, because you don't usually see Joe Mauer swinging too many pitches outside of the strike zone like he did in that at bat.
Too many smiles in that Twins dugout, and Escobar's 0 for 3, and his team for far too long has fed off of his success at the plate and the enthusiasm that he's shown. Kind of a flat night for the Twins. Down and in, ball 1.
Yeah, this is one of those days where, as a manager, you're watching it and your frustration mounts, because you can handle mistakes and you can handle different things happening throughout the game, but when it doesn't seem like you have your absolute intensity or your
edge.
Yeah, and we haven't seen much of that. I know it was a long night, but it was day off the day before. The Texas series wasn't great after a good series against 2 first place clubs. I mean, there's a reason to think that a wake-up call might be a little bit in order here.
1 and 1. And now 1 and 2.
Yeah, there's got to be some kind of little delay or hesitation in his delivery to be able to get the top of the order to take swings like that outside of the zone.
Escobar strikes out, 2 down.
It's almost like he's throwing that slider up out of the zone, and the hitters are waiting for it to come down, and it never comes down.
Catch baseball's biggest stars for an unforgettable show from the nation's capital. The MLB All-Star Game, July 17th, only on Fox. Stream it live on the Fox Sports app. 2 down here in the 8th inning. So you will be watching the All-Star Game this year.
I was going to say, I'm glad we got back to that. Because I feel like it might have sounded kind of selfish that I said I wouldn't watch the game because I wasn't in it. But that was more out of frustration of that meant my year wasn't going very well, and I wasn't good enough to be there, and my expectations for myself were, as a middle order hitter, that I wanted to be doing the things well enough to get there.
Jerry Davis says no swing. And you went to how many All-Star games? 4 All-Star
I went to
games?
3. The 4th one I was hurt. The first chance I had to start was when I got hurt right before in Toronto in 2010.
Well, that was a good check by Rosario.
See, I think he swung that.
Really?
Yeah. The problem is the rule isn't very well defined in the rule book. It's saying if you make an attempt to swing. Well, I mean, every time the bat comes off your shoulder, you're making an attempt to swing.
Right.
So some people use the front of the plate as a gauge. Some, if the wrist break, whatever.
I tend to look at the angle of the bat.
Yeah.
Fouled back. 2-2.
Yeah, and I think Nolan Arenado does it really well because his hands travel so far, but he doesn't break. So you would say that he never, doesn't check his swing.
Right.
So I don't know. For me, I agree with you. If the bat gets to that, even with the plate.
That foul. In Rosario's case, if the angle of the bat heads up the third baseline, then it's a swing.
Yep.
Two down here in the 8th. Another check. 3-2 with Dozier on deck. Adrianza, the 8th place hitter, has 3 of the 4 hits. That'll tell you all you need to know about how this night has gone for the Twins. And beat foul into the Twins dugout.
That might have been the first real hittable pitch there's been this inning that he's left in the actual strike zone. Oh, rolling breaking ball. That's not where you want to throw it with 2 strikes.
8th pitch of this at bat coming, 19th of the inning. Now it's foul. But how does a human being hit that pitch where it was thrown to where it ended up landing? I mean, the pitch was up about neck high inside off the plate.
Extremely good hand-eye coordination. I mean, that's the absolute top of his strike zone. Not mere mortals, but his.
Now a drive to left, and it'll carry to Garcia. And Cedeno has a 1-2-3-8. I've got some thoughts about that. I've got some thoughts. Avisail Garcia will hit for the White Sox here in the 8th against Ryan Prezi. Garcia and Anderson will bat. Avisail with a foul to the screen, 1 strike.
We talked about him earlier. He would be a nice addition to a lot of ball clubs. He's a guy who can run a little bit. He can play the outfield. He's got some power. He's really starting to figure it out as a hitter. They just need to show that he's healthy, and hopefully there's someone that can find a home for him.
Taken low, 1-1.
And I'm surprised there's not a lot more frustration coming out of Bobby Wilson, because that pitch seems like it's been called against the Twins almost every time it's been thrown up there tonight. And that borderline pitch really hasn't gone the way of the Twins in most of these at-bats tonight.
Off the plate, 2-1. Presley's had a couple of good outings, although his most recent outing last night just a third of an inning, but a couple of scoreless outings. Fouled back 1 and 2. Gave up 3 runs to the Red Sox back on the 21st. Had 3 scoreless outings before that.
It's been fun for me to watch the development of him as a pitcher. I was here when he first came over here, and to see the confidence he has now, how the pitches have become more polished, how he's more composed on the mound.
96 up and in. Plays pretty well.
He's been a dependable part of this bullpen for most of this year. He's done a really nice job. And you're right, 96 plays anywhere.
Two and 2. Garcia probably thrilled that Gibson's not out there anymore. 0 for 3 against him tonight with a couple of strikeouts. And now just 3 hits and 20 at bats against the Twins right-hander.
I think 20 at bats is a good number for a hitter versus pitcher matchup, to let you know, with 10 you can a 2 for 10 or a 4 for 10. I mean, you can line out a couple times. That doesn't really tell you much. Once you get into that 20 range, that tells you if a guy sees a guy well or not.
Popped up, and that will spin out of play. Well, you might remember this. I think you were still with the ball club. Jock Jones.
Jock Jones, yeah.
0 for 24 against Mark Burley, and he kind of like a 4-hopper up the middle, and Burley offered him the baseball if he wanted to keep it.
Well, and I think didn't Jock actually ask Gardy why he kept putting him in the lineup?
Probably.
And Gardy said that he was due. He had to get a hit at some point.
Right.
That was kind of like me and CC Sabathia.
Oh yeah, same thing.
Oh, I don't know what I was, like 6 for like 60 or something. After like the 3 for 30, I can't believe Gardy kept putting me out there.
2 and 2. And there's a drive to left. Rosario back, leaping, and that ball is gone. A home run. Great at bat for Garcia. And the White Sox add at least 1 more here in the 8th.
Like you said, nobody was happier to see Kyle Gibson out of this ball game. Puts together a good at bat. Gets a breaking ball, catches it out front, and in this ballpark, you hit it just good enough.
5 fouls from Garcia, and then a home run.
He stayed away with him, attacked that outer part of the plate, came in with 2 strikes, and then he does a nice job of reaching out and getting that ball. Not a terrible pitch, but when you put together a good at-bat, you see a lot of pitches off the guy. You see the same pitch 3 or 4 times in an at-bat. It gives the hitter an advantage, and he saw it enough where he was able to reach out and get the good part of the bat of the ball.
Garcia takes a strike on the outside corner. Avisail Garcia's home run, similar to Abreu's in the 5th inning.
Almost identical with off-speed, breaking ball, reaches out, but 2 big, strong guys.
Same launch angle. Ethan, our stats guy, looked it up. You were 8 for 50 against Sabathia.
Let's see the James Shields number. Those are a little better.
2 strikes. one of the worst at bats we've seen. Garcia just waves at strike 3, and you see that Presley gets a lot of those really awful looking swings. One away. There's the Ram road ahead. Lots of baseball left to be played on this road trip, and the Twins need to start playing a better brand of baseball. A day game tomorrow, then kind of a late afternoon game on Friday, a day game Saturday. Well, you don't care. You're not going to be working. I'll be working with LaTroy Hawkins. Day game on Sunday, and then we'll bus up to Milwaukee.
That 3 o'clock game, the hitters will be hoping it's cloudy.
At Wrigley.
Yeah.
Did you like hitting there? You got a chance to do that more regularly with the Pirates and the Rockies, obviously.
It's a comfortable any ballpark where the gaps were close to me, where I felt like I could have my good approach and I could hit the ball to both gaps and be rewarded for it. So that was one of those places where it's good to go.
We're about to be enveloped by the fog from the fireworks.
Like we're in San Francisco.
1-1 to Anderson. Now 1-2. We're just trying to peer through that and see if we can keep track of this baseball game here. And another strikeout for Presley. 2 down. Could not put away Garcia, who ended up hitting the home run, but he has handled Lurie Garcia and Tim Anderson quickly. Now Narvaez.
And that was a nice job right there. Get back, even though he gave up that home run on that breaking ball to Garcia, he's still comfortable. He still has confidence in it, and he went back and attacked him with it and got the strikeout with it again.
And the dirt ball 1.
So far, with doing these games with you, I think this is the type of situation that frustrates you with this shift. A guy who's not a power guy, but we're still able to play 3 infielders on the right side of the diamond arm.
And he hits it to Dozier, the middleman. And Presley gets the second, third, and fourth batters, but the leadoff man, Avisail Garcia, hit a home run. And it's lead. Off the disabled list, and Garcia with A home run for the White Sox in the 8th inning. And now Juan Minaya will pitch with the White Sox up 6-0.
Second straight day for a home run with a home run for Avisail Garcia. So good signs for him off the DL. Missed quite a bit of time this year. He's important to their lineup, and you'd like to see a guy who's had a good year able to build on that year and continue to have success moving forward.
Minaya on the mound. Tilson moves to left. That opens up center field for Adam Engel. And Brian Dozier lined a single to right his last time up, and he takes strike one. Dozier is the only Twins batter who has a hit tonight other than A-Ray Adrianza. Adrianza has 2 singles and a double.
Not a lot of quality at-bats put together off of James Shields. A lot of weak outs, a lot of hitters being caught out front, getting caught in between. And James Shields took advantage of the aggressiveness of the Twins hitters.
There's a half swing. No swing, says Nick Lentz. Not much to look at. Adrianza with 3 hits. A lot of weak pulled ground balls. And this one fouled back. Now, I was just looking, and you have no control over this. I understand that, but you did games at home when we did the Reds, right?
Oh boy!
And the scores were 15-9. Twins won the middle game 3-1 and 8-2. Now we come here for the White Sox, and last night was 8-4, and it's 6-0 tonight. All the times you came here and the Twins scored runs at will for a good part of your Twins career, and you can't get one stinking run tonight as a broadcaster?
It must be the full moon.
Over the Twins dugout out of play.
We have no impact on the game.
No, we don't.
We
don't. The game, however, and I can tell you this, has great impact on us.
Yes. And I'm not sure there's many people in this ballpark other than the people in the dugout that want to see that team play well and want to see them win as much as we do also.
3-2. Ground ball left side. Now, you were telling me before the game, Dozier thrown out at first. You were telling me before the game. Took you a while to get to sleep last night. Right? Now, did it have anything to do with the final score and how poorly the Twins played?
No, it had to do with the rain delay and the amount of caffeine that I had.
Okay, all right. I wanted to make sure. You know, you and because you were, you know, a very good baseball player, obviously, but I'll bet you were able to dismiss if the Twins had a particularly tough game.
I was the worst.
Really? Or if you had a bad game, you weren't able to, you know, turn out the lights, go to bed, and go get them tomorrow?
If we won, it didn't. It wasn't. It was different. I learned to. If we won and I didn't do well, it didn't matter. But if we lost and I didn't do well, then I took a lot of the blame upon myself. So it took a long time in the league to be able to get past that. LaTroy Hawkins, I think, said it best of anyone I heard. You think about it after the game, you talk to your teammates, you talk to whoever, and when you shower, you step in that shower and you wash that game away, and you come out of the shower refreshed, and you move on and start thinking about the next day.
And I would imagine you wash it away whether you won or you lost, right? I mean, you've got to focus on what's ahead, not what's in the rearview mirror.
Yes, and if something good happened or something productive, you look for the positives, you look what you did well, you try and figure out what you could do better, but at the same time, short memory in this game is so important. Just like today, you got a quick turnaround, get back here for a day game tomorrow, better be ready to go.
Kepler lifts it foul down the left field line, 2-2.
Because no matter what happened today, it doesn't matter tomorrow.
Right.
One of the other good ones I heard was Larry Walker said, the only stat I ever worried about was going 1 for 1 my next at bat. So
like
the 0 for 3 doesn't matter. It doesn't matter in your 4th at bat. The only at bat that matters is the one that you're taking right now and the pitch you're trying to hit.
Right.
So
probably explains why he was so good.
He was really good.
I remember watching a game years ago, towards the end of Eddie Murray's career when he was with the Cleveland Indians, and it was a playoff game. And the first 4 at bats were like strikeout, double play, strikeout, double play. And after the second double play, Eddie Murray calmly put his bat away and his helmet away. Here's a ball lashed to left center field, but the left fielder Tilson is there for out number 2. And I thought, how does he not snap? You know, which wasn't Eddie's nature. And then, of course, he got a 5th at bat in that playoff game and got a big hit, and the Indians won the ball game. But he had that perspective that maybe some younger player didn't have at that point.
It does. It's learning how to deal with failure is one of the most important things in this game. And it just takes time. I mean, just because you don't throw your helmet every time you get out doesn't mean you don't care or you didn't expect to get a hit. So there's learning lessons, or lessons learned every day in this game.
Twins haven't been shut out in this ballpark since 2012. Usually when you come to play here, you figure, look, not just how many runs we're going to score, it's how many home runs we're going to hit, and they've got nothing tonight. 1-0 to Grossman. A walk, a strikeout, and a ground ball for the Twins' designated hitter. And now up 2-0.
Does that count as a meeting?
We'll find out from the home plate umpire. He doesn't signal as much. I think because he stayed on the dirt, it did not. But if he had any exchange with the pitcher, it should.
Goes back to Bumgarner's comment the other day of, I'm not sure, we got so many rules coming in, I don't know what they are.
2-0. And now 3-0 with Cave on deck. And a strike. 3-1. Grossman thought it was ball 4.
Grossman was taken on that 2-0 pitch all the way, obviously taken on 3-0 down by 6th and 9th. It would be interesting to see how he approaches this 3-1 pitch here. If he was taking 2-0, you assume he's taking 3-1, trying to get on base and keep the game going, get the next guy up to the plate.
And there's ball 4. And it'll bring up Cave. We've seen Minaya do this before. If you paid attention to his numbers when we introduced him, 12 innings pitched and 11 walks. Here's Cave, reached on an error, has hit a couple of ground balls to second. The error was committed by Moncada, the second baseman, on a ground ball.
And after him losing the strike zone like that, you would expect Cave to take. Grossman will probably take off and get to second base.
First pitch strike.
Brady playing way behind him at first.
And now 2 strikes. Just off the outside corner. I almost clipped the corner to end the ball game. 1-2. From up here, it looked like it hit the corner, but it was well outside.
We've seen that pitch called a strike a couple times tonight. I think we're thankful it wasn't.
Okay. Beats one foul. To Jake Cave. And now 2-2. Very live arm, but unless or until he can throw more strikes, he's not going to be much of a commodity for the White Sox or anybody else.
But they're in a position where they're allowing him to find that out.
All right. 3-2. Adrian's on deck.
Fastball at 96 and changeup at 90. It's hard to not give that guy as many opportunities as you can, because he could be a valuable piece moving forward for this White Sox rebuilding club. Cave better be ready to swing at anything close right here. You get a situation like this in a 6-0 game, that strike zone tends to expand.
Inside, he missed. Back-to-back 2-out walks. And now there's a trip to the mound, and everybody's going to come to the mound. A few years ago, I don't know whether it was a team that you were on, but the Twins had a Juan Minaya type guy. His name was Juan Murillo, and he was a hard-throwing right-hander. Threw about 95, 96, but he had the same problem. He couldn't throw it over the plate. He was notable because it was the first truly power arm that the Twins had. He had bounced around from a bunch of different organizations and landed with the Twins. Don Cooper is going to have some rather choice words in English or Spanish to offer Mr. Minaya.
I don't remember him. I remember Jim Hoey, who we got the J.J. Hardy
trade. Yeah.
Another electric arm. And like we saw tonight from James Shields' start, it doesn't matter how hard you throw. If you can't put it where you want to, you're not going to be successful in this league. I don't think there was anybody in that Twins dugout that wanted this game to keep going as much as Harry Adrianza. He's 3 for 3 with got rewarded for a good approach, soft hit ball in the first, and then hit a couple balls harder after that. This is the right guy at the plate to keep this game going right here.
Luis Avalon warming up. Adrianza hoping to keep the game alive for the Twins. Strike on the outside corner. Juan Murillo pitched in 2009 for the Twins. The reason you didn't remember him, you had no reason to. He only pitched in a couple ball games, 2 innings, 3 hits, 3 walks, and 5 earned runs. But it was, it came out of his hand 96 miles per hour, and that stood out among Twin relievers.
I mean, you can't not put Joe Nathan in that category.
Right.
But he's also one of the best closers of all time for that reason.
2 strikes to Adrianza, looking for a 4-hit night on an otherwise discouraging night for the Twins. And he's got a 4-hit night, and Grossman comes around third, and the Twins have scored here in Chicago. Adrianza with 4 hits on a night when the Twins only managed 5.
And Eduardo Escobar is never getting that bat back.
And Logan Morrison will hit for Bobby Wilson.
That was a nice job. 2-strike hit through the big part of the field. His approach has been solid all night. He's got rewarded for it.
Well, we've got a medical situation here too. Now Rick Renneria is coming out of the dugout, but he's not going to the mound. And it might be the second baseman, Moncada, who dove to try to make the play. And
I think he blew out his belt. We've seen this happen before. Guys will go to dive and the belt will explode.
Trying to discreetly get his pants zipped up and fastened again. And the White Sox are going to make a pitching change once Renneria realized his second baseman was of sound mind and body. He veered to the mound, and Minaya got the first 2 men but couldn't get the third. So we'll have a pitching change with the Twins getting on the board here in the 9th inning, and they'll send Morrison up against Avalon when we come back. 4-hit game.
And you know he's aware that Polanco's on his way back, but he doesn't want to relinquish that playing time. He wants to prove that he belongs in that lineup, and he's done a nice job of saying, hey, you're going to have to earn your way back in. With this opportunity, he's looked like an everyday player, and he's played really well. He's been one of the few bright spots, especially offensively tonight and over the last month with the regular playing time that he's got.
Avalon will come in to face Morrison. Avalon 35th game. Just a couple of home runs allowed. Slow breaking ball hits the corner.
And these at-bats in the ninth tonight are way better than the at-bats last night. The at-bats last night, they just kind of gave them away and was a 4 or 5 pitch inning. Tonight, they've made him use multiple relievers. They've made Soria get up again in the ninth in a 6-0 game to get the closer up. These have been good at-bats, finally, by the Twins in this game.
Down and in. And Bert has always said that, you know, what you do in the ninth inning, even though the score was lopsided entering into the ninth inning, and it might be lopsided by game's end, but if you can get a run or two and get something positive out of the game, that might help feed into tomorrow's game.
Yep, and I said this during the homestand. It's frustrating to see the desperation not come out until it's 6-0 in the ninth with good at-bats and the focus that.
Morrison swings through, strike 2. One and 2 to Logan Morrison.
Well, he used that changeup for the out pitch last night. See if he's comfortable throwing that to Morrison right here. The first pitch curveball sped him up inside with the fastball, and looks like he's putting down the sign for the changeup inside.
And that'll do it. When the Twins were here earlier this year, they lost the opener, but then won the next 3. But now in this series, the White Sox, in rather convincing fashion, have won the first 2 games of the series. Tom Hanneman, the Twins will have to find something to get things going tomorrow, because it's a quick turnaround with a day game in the series finale.